Hello and welcome to episode 95 of the ReelTok podcast. I'm here with three lovely gentlemen. One has just stepped out to have a number two, but the other two are here with us right now. That is Cameron and George. Today we have I know sometimes we say that, they're going to be shorter. We have a pretty packed episode today. It's two major releases came out this week. A big release, unfortunately, none of us were able to get to, and that's the new Kevin Costner film Horizon, which maybe we'll touch on in a future episode. But today, mainly going to be about, firstly, A Quiet Place. We're going to be covering that. I think all of us watched it. I'm not 100% sure if Tyler did. And then we'll also be covering, Tyler didn't, us three watched it. We'll be covering Kinds of Kindness. We're going to be going through that in a different structure because it is an anthology. We're going to be covering sort of the three different stories in that. And then we'll also be covering Yorgos Lanthimos' filmography, and then we have a bit of news to talk about as well. First of all, how are we? Cameron, how are you doing today?
Go to George. Go to George.
George?
Just got a mouthful of food. I'm good. What did I do this week? I didn't do anything this week. Work's been very busy. I think I texted you guys on like Wednesday or Thursday that it's been like the busiest week of work in a very long time. So slightly stressed, but manageable, tolerable. Got to the theater for A Quiet Place, which was nice. That's God, what a boring week. I'm sorry. I wish I had more, but I like really, I'm trying to think because every time Victoria listens to our episode, she's like, you missed this, and that. Yeah, so I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anything, but yeah, this was just a slightly boring week, if I'm being honest, and that's really it.
Fair. Cameron, are you finished? Can I ask?
I'm ready this time.
Cool.
Yeah, solid, normal-ish week. A home update. So trying to buy a house, right? Put an offer in, got accepted, all that. Going through that process, got inspected. Biggest call out in the inspection was, and it's a very old home, so the wiring is not updated. So we had an electrician come out to like give us a quote to see how much it would be. And it's very, very expensive, unfortunately, because it's like all old wiring, the whole house needs completely rewired. And so that's not great because it's very, very expensive. Obviously we can't pay for it. So we're having the owners of the house who are selling it pay for it, or we basically went back and we were like, hey, the electrician said we can. He said, do not move into this house if it doesn't get rewired, because I guess this old wiring is super dangerous. He's like, if you leave it be, yeah, it's probably fine. But most homes from like this home was built in 1910, so very old. He's like, most homes that you see caught on fire, if they're an old home, 99% of the time it's this wiring. And so I'm like, oh, that's great. So unfortunately, like if they come back and say, hey, we're not gonna fix this, then we probably can't buy this house, which sucks. So that's a bummer. But other than that, helps my sister.
Make a very, very dark comment.
What was the comment?
I was going to say, you don't want a Manchester by the Sea, your family.
No, I do not. I very much do not.
I apologize for that.
No, that's all right. But yeah, just got to be smart about it. Unfortunately, like George said, don't want the house burning down. My sister was moving like out of a storage unit, so her and her fiance have like a house they're remodeling right now. And so they have some more space to put stuff in. So they're moving out of a storage unit. So I did that this morning, woke up at like 5:30 so I could get it done before the pod. But it started downpouring like an hour ago, so that kind of sucked. Just soaking wet, moving boxes. And now I'm here. Not
is the wiring delaying your move-in, or did you plan around this?
Well, so closing date wouldn't have been till July 12th anyways. So we have like time.
Yeah.
So if they say they'll get it done, it probably will delay like how long it'll take to do it. I don't know exactly like the timeline of that, but I assume we can like start moving in and stuff and then just keep boxes there and other things. So that's the goal. But we'll see about that. And if you see me consuming an odd amount of milk this week, like if you're watching on YouTube, just leave it be. All right. I may have accidentally poured 2 glasses, and I'm not just gonna like pour it back in the jug. So we're consuming a lot of milk this week.
How did you accidentally?
Yeah. How do you pour a glass of milk?
Okay, I didn't accidentally pour 2 glasses. My mom very kindly, because I got home from like moving and everything, my mom very kindly poured me a glass of milk with my breakfast that she made. Very sweet, kind woman. I didn't realize that glass of milk, and now she's got Bailey. So like she left when I got home. Now she's got Bailey. So I didn't know this glass was for myself. So I poured myself one, and then she texts and is like, "Hey, breakfast is on the table. Feel free to take the milk or eat it during the pod or whatever." So now I have 2 glasses of milk. I'm not going to let them go to waste.
What sort of milk is it?
2%.
Yeah.
I'm a 2% guy.
Interesting.
I don't know what 2% is.
I assume you have whole. I assume maybe you have
semi-skimmed, skimmed, and whole.
I would guess it's semi-skinned then.
Okay, that's the only one you should be able to drink, to be fair.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So we have like 2%, 1%. I mean, there's a lot of milks. I only drink 2%, to be honest.
It's the only good one. The only good one. Myself, kind of similar, very busy work week, just obviously last week off. I think I said this on Twitter yesterday. I've got a week off next week for the first time in like 3 years, which is kind of a long time coming. Well needed. So looking forward to that. We go tomorrow. So me and Anna are going tomorrow. Again, looking forward to that. It should be good. Other than that, kind of just watching a bunch of shit this week. Managed to catch Kinds of Kindness and Quiet Place, which obviously we'll touch on. Watched a few films, probably not as much as usual, and that's kind of basically it this week for me. I think before we go into A Quiet Place, we'll obviously just touch on what we've been watching. I assume most of us it's Yorgos or just A Quiet Place or maybe something else in general. But Tyler, if you want to give me how you've been and also what you've been watching other than the,
Yeah, so pretty standard week. Started a new job this week. It's based on the East Coast, so like all my team is East Coast, which means my first meeting on Monday mornings at 5 a.m. So I'm getting up at like 4 a.m. usually, which I actually kind of like. It like sets like I felt like this week I was getting by the time it was like noon, lunchtime, I was like, damn, I feel like I've gotten so much done today. But then like the afternoon, I'm just like dead. So a lot of adjusting, but all in all, it's been a good week. There's a short week coming up, so excited to just only work a couple of days and get the 4th of July weekend off. But yeah, in terms of what I've been watching, a lot of Yorgos. And then I rewatched. Yeah, I already talked about that last week. Been watching a ton of Wim Wenders films as well. I'm prepping for a podcast with Marta. So rewatch Perfect Days, which I moved up to a 5-star. It's like my favorite film of the decade. Honestly, that movie means so much to me. And then he has 2 noir films from when he lived in America, The American Friend and Hammett. Both are fine, but nothing crazy. I'd recommend The American Friend, but not Hammett. And then rewatch Wings of Desire, watch Mid-90s, which I'm sure you guys talked about will be our Patreon review this week. And yeah, rewatch 50 First Dates, which I think, Seth, you rate like a 3.5. Like you like that movie, right? For 50
yeah, it's cool, man. Makes me laugh. It's funny.
Yeah, good movie.
One of the better Sandler ones of that era, anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely makes you feel warm and fuzzy. Definitely one of the better Adam Sandler movies. It's like it has the same problem that like every Adam Sandler movie does, where there's always like 1 or 2 side characters that like he uses too much. You're like, just tamp it down. Like Rob Schneider in most movies, I don't really like, but in this one is no different. I'm like, he's
really annoying.
Everything Adam Sandler does.
Yeah, but he's like particularly annoying in 50 First
Dates. I think who is it? James Spader is the worst of Adam.
The big guy with like, I know who you mean. Wait,
no, that's Kevin James. Wait, no,
James
Spader is not. Wait, give me a sec.
I was like, since when was he in the Sandler crew?
I want to say,
Spader.
Yeah,
wait, no,
that's the wrong name. Ignore me.
Blacklist
David Spade.
David Spade.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Which one's David Spade?
He's the
Blonde
blonde
one.
He's in.
Oh,
The
he's
Wrong
in.
Missy.
He was in The Wrong Missy. Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
worst
Yeah.
movie of all time, too. So he's the worst.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think David Spade is the worst of Adam Sandler's like buddies.
Mhm. Yeah, but Rob Schneider is pretty ridiculous in 51st Dates. Then Lucia Struess, I don't know how to pronounce that. She was another character that was like had a funny bit in the movie, but he just like overused it. But I loved
Samwise is pretty funny.
I know
actually
I
like
loved him in it.
John
He's
Astin.
hilarious, a steroid guy. Shout out their last names. They're a family. They're all the Whitmores, spelled exactly the same. So shout out that last name. Really like the dad as well. But like so like the dad and like Sean Astin, like them. I was like I love them. They're hilarious,
the best
especially
team.
Sean
Yeah,
Astin.
Yeah.
But then like the side characters a little too much. But that's just like every Adam Sandler comedy to me, where it's like they're always like 3.5 or 4 stars and never hired just simply because they always have that like 1 or 2 character that's like, man, just too much. But he's got to stuff the pockets of his friends. I respect it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much just a bunch of Vim Vendors, a bunch of Yorgos, and I feel like looking at my diary, I was like, I thought I watched more. I guess I watched all of The Bear season 1, 2, and 3, so that makes sense. So I'm like, I feel like I've been watching a ton of shit this week, but like my diary doesn't show it. I'm like, oh well, I watched 3 seasons of television, so that kind of makes sense. But yeah, it's kind of what I've been watching and what I've been up to.
Fair. George, excluding Yorgos and whatever, what have you been watching?
Excluding Yorgos and The Bear, obviously I've been crushing The Bear season 3 right now. What else? Mid-90s, which we're going to talk about for our patrons. I checked off Francis Ha last night. Terrence Malick. I watched Voyage of Time, the IMAX experience.
Were you
Kinda
under the
cool.
influence when you watched that?
I was, yes.
That's not a feature film, right? Is that
No.
No.
That's like that. Yeah, that's like the 45-minute one. I couldn't find the actual.
Oh,
feature
did
film.
you not watch the 93-minute one?
No.
Whatever it is.
I couldn't find it anywhere.
I'll send you a
Not
link because that's
Not
crazy.
available. Yeah, I'd watch that, but no, I watched like the 45-minute one. I watched Bram Stoker's Dracula. So damn good, man. So good. I can't believe how good that movie was.
Can't believe how much you liked it.
Saying your rating for that was like when I saw Cam's rating for Song to Song. That's kind of like the same.
Genuinely,
Yeah, that was a weird experience, but it was a lot of fun. Can't wait to watch that one again. Other than that, that's kind of it. When did we record last week? Saturday. So yeah, so my Sunday watches were Past Lives, and I watched it's like this you guys should watch it. It's called Maximum Fury, Filming Fury Road. It's just like a documentary.
Yeah,
that takes
I
you
would have
around
watched this.
Yeah, it was very good. It was very insightful, very fun. But yeah, that's it. And A Quiet Place. We'll talk about A Quiet Place, but that's it.
Who's your Wimbledon prediction?
I think Carlos is the safe bet. Novak's coming off a knee injury, but he's looking clean. Yannick historically has not been fantastic on grass. He obviously just won at Halle and he had a decent run last year at Wimbledon, but I think Carlos is the superior grass court player, so I expect him to defend his title. On the women's side, Iga is not as big a shoo-in as she is on clay. She's definitely fantastic on grass, but it's not like a French Open where I would put my life savings on Iga to win. So I think Elena Rybakina is going to take the title. She won it, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. And
how's Coco doing these days?
Coco's good. She's the 3rd seed. She can make a run. I think she will make a run. Yeah, go her. Obviously, we want to root for the Americans.
She's number 2 world rank, though, right? But she's 3 seed.
I think
I thought she was 2.
Unless it's changed in the last week, I could be wrong. I thought, Jesus Christ, what's her dumb name?
Coco's 2. Arina Sabalenka's 3.
Yeah, Sabalenka. Okay, I didn't realize they flip flopped. Which is great
Looks
for
like
Coco.
I know more tennis ball than George.
Yeah.
The goats have fallen.
But no, that's good news for Coco actually, because then she won't have to meet Iga until the finals, but she'll have to see Sabalenka in the semis if that's how the seeding worked out. But yeah, it should be a good tournament. So they're both men and women are very wide open. I think. I don't think there's like an absolute lock on either side.
What about Andy Murray, George? Is he not a good lock?
He's not playing actually. Well,
does he play anymore?
He does play. He does play.
Okay.
He would like to play, but I think it's going to be a game time decision. I think he's in the draw right now. But
that
he's
dude's
still
always injured these days. I feel
he's
like.
been injured since 2017. Yeah,
he's always injured.
Did he ever win
Yeah.
one? I know nothing about tennis.
Yeah. He's won 2 Wimbledon.
Oh
Yeah.
shit. Okay.
He won
He was
in
good for a bit. He was
yeah,
good when I cared about it a little more.
Very good. He was number 4 right there with. I mean, not right there with Fed, Rafa, and Novak, but like he was the number 4 guy for like 10 years straight.
Interesting.
He was like that dragon meme where like there's like 3 strong ones and then
and then just one dumbass. Like that's it.
He was always there. Yeah.
I mean, you could say this about so many tennis players, but especially Andy Murray. If Fed, Rafa, and Novak like didn't exist, Andy Murray is winning 500 majors. Like because of the big 3, so many people did not win as many majors as they should have.
I already forget Art's last name from
Donaldson.
Art Donaldson. He was there. He was there for
George
a little.
knows.
Yeah.
I love how Steve Carell was invited there. It was like Steve Carell for Despicable Me.
For Despicable Me 4.
Hell yeah.
At first, I was like, oh, that's interesting. He's doing morning show prep for not morning show. I'm losing my mind, but I did not think it was Despicable Me 4. When I read that caption, I was like, that's stupid.
No, dude, it's all Despicable Me right now. When he dresses as Gru on the Ellen show, that's the first image of all time.
The Ellen
That's awful.
Yeah, I do know what you're thinking about that. Actually.
Yeah, it's awful, man.
Gross, dude.
All right. Yeah, I watched The Bear and Quiet Place, and I watched The Favorite, but that's about all I got on Yorgos. The Bear took up all my time this week. I don't think we mentioned it, but the Bear episode tomorrow, right? Tyler?
Yes. In terms
Tuesday,
of
so Tuesday, So yeah, we'll talk that, but good show. I want season 4 now, and they were supposed to record them back to back, and they didn't. Cowards. So that's a bummer.
I don't think that's that much of like a hindrance. Like they can still pump these seasons out.
Yeah, they're not that, they're not
like,
that difficult.
I still expect season 4 within the year, not within 2024, just within the 12 months after right now.
What was 2 and 3's gap?
Exactly like a year.
Exactly. It was a year ago.
Like real television should be like the great sitcoms back in the day.
Are we okay? Here's a question, Cam, and actually everyone, because we're all watching House of the Dragon. Do we prefer the bulk drop or the weekly episodes?
Weekly
episodes.
Weekly if they're good.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can't really predetermine that.
Yeah, I think you can. House of the Dragon, you know, is going to be good. So that's weekly.
Not necessarily. People would have said the same about last season of Game of Thrones. You know.
Yeah,
I guess that's fair. But that's event TV should be weekly.
Okay.
Sunday night HBO should be weekly.
I haven't seen a lick of the Bear, or I haven't seen a lick of the Boys, but I hear that they drop like 3 episodes at once, then like weekly to go for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
That seems kind of nice because the thing with weekly is, which is the problem with Game of Thrones, is like when there's like a filler episode, it's like, man, that's like that week just feels like wasted because you're so excited about the story. And
then I get even more excited, you know?
Yeah, but then it's just like
gradual.
But with like a bulk drop, so like the Bear dropped whatever it was Thursday night,
Wednesday
at Wednesday night. At the end of Wednesday night, I had watched 4 episodes. I had friends who had seen 1 episode. I had friends who have seen the whole season by the next day. So like, I didn't know what to tweet. I didn't know who to talk to. Yeah, because like everyone's on a different point of the discourse. So it's too much. It's too much to worry about.
When I was like 17,
to watch it all.
When I was like 17, I loved the like bulk drops because most did it then, and that was like because I could watch them all, you know, because I'd have so much time.
That's when
now
Netflix was like getting popular and starting the bulk drops.
Yeah,
I get that. I like the weekly.
I think as you get older. As you get older, you prefer the weekly. I really feel like
I'm tired of fucking Star Wars dropping weekly because that's just ass.
Yeah, then you get 34 minutes of shit.
Yeah.
That's like the only problem with weekly.
Last episode of The Acolyte kind of went.
I posted this was such a long time ago. This was like a very long time ago, but I posted a TikTok video basically saying like, I prefer weekly episodes because I like that I have something to look forward to on a specific day. And all of my comments were basically like, dude, get a fucking life. If all you're looking forward to is one episode of a television show, go fucking do something. And I was like, oh, damn, that's rude.
Real.
Cam, did you finish?
Oh,
You did.
I watched Soul as well, and that movie just brings me joy.
Me-
I also watched like half of The Dark Knight, and I was like, "This is fucking awesome." But then I went to bed, and then the next day, I never went back to it.
That's crazy. How do you do that?
I don't know. It's a great movie. I'll probably finish it sometime. I was like the next day. That's when I started The Bear, and then I got The Bear pilled and just never turned it down. I went to a like pregame yesterday.
What's a pregame?
You like pregame the bars, so you like
like a pre before you go out.
Yeah.
Okay, we call it pre-drinks now. I understand.
Yeah, nice. So I went to like that
man.
because my wife's friend is moving, and my wife's other friend had like their brother in town, so a couple of them went out. The one that's moving this morning like didn't, so we could all hang out like one final time kind of thing. And she was playing High School Musical 3. So I caught the end of that.
The weirdest double log
and
ever.
then right after they turned on High School Musical 2. So I caught the start of the
Oh no.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Is he gone or am I gone?
No, you're
he's gone.
No, he's gone. Okay.
Oh, wow.
You're back. Maybe.
Kind of back.
Get
Get there. Get there.
do it.
Dude, while Cam's coming back, I used to work in Hudson Yards. This has nothing to do with the podcast. I just want to, talk. I used to work in Hudson Yards, and I used to love the people I worked with. Like truly, like some of my best friends. Like I still talk to them every day. I still get drinks with them every so often. Like they're fantastic. But I haven't been back to that area of the city since I left my job last April. So I was going to Hudson Yards on Wednesday after work to meet a friend for drinks. And as I come off the elevator, I see 3 of my old coworkers, and I didn't cry, but like, like that feeling you get right before you're gonna cry, where you're kind of like,
yeah,
I don't know, like a little, teary-eyed. You're like a little shaky, like you feel like overwhelmed, like, but it's like a good overwhelming feeling. And I was like, damn.
I never had that with ex-colleagues. I had that where like you'd go out with them and you'd be real friendly with them. But then I left and I was like,
that's what I have with my current colleagues, where it's like they're great people, like they're awesome people to work with. They're fun, whatever. But like I'm not like texting them randomly.
You're not going out your way to meet them.
Yeah, I'm not going out of my way to like get drinks with them. I'm not getting dinner with them, like yada yada. But like my old coworkers, I was with them for like 5 years, and like they just became like my best friends. So now so Wednesday night I went to Hudson Yards. Hudson Yards is like, it's brand new pretty much. Hudson Yards used to be like this really shitty area. Then they've built it up. Now there's like beautiful new buildings. There's like the Vessel. It's right on the water. It's like this whole like courtyard kind of thing. But the next day I have to go to Midtown, and I work in Midtown, which is the worst place in the city. It is crowded. It is fucking humid 24/7. It is so loud. It is so annoying.
Is that the actual name of it? That sounds like something I'd name a town. Midtown?
No.
Midtown?
Well, it's
Or
like
is it
in the
just
middle.
It's Midtown. Okay, it's just Midtown.
Well, like town refers to all of Manhattan.
Yeah, and then it's just the middle of the town.
So this is like the middle of the town.
Okay. It's not the mid area of town then.
No,
because that would be cool.
It is the central location of Manhattan.
Got you.
Which is what we'll say.
Cam, did you want to finish?
No, it's fine. Every time I cut out, I get a little bit more depressed. So it's fine. We're good.
That's a really depressing note for you to end on.
Yeah, no. It's every time I'm like talking, I'm having a great vibe, and then I just see no one else is moving, and then my screen starts buffering. I'm like, yeah, I'm bummed now. This is a bummer.
That's okay.
But it's all right.
I watched nothing other than Yorgos and A Quiet Place this week. So that moves us swiftly onto A Quiet Place. Okay, so Tyler, did you see this?
No, I'm going tomorrow because Riley really
okay.
wants
Oh yeah,
to see it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I will I will dip out for this and come back. Text the group chat when you're done.
Tyler, you're holding off on all your ratings, man. I don't see your kinds of kindness rating right now. I don't see your Dogtooth
I got back
rating.
so late last night. I was like, I have a podcast at 6 a.m. I have to sleep. I can't write letterbox reviews, so there'll be surprises. You have to wait and see.
All right, fair.
Yeah, so Quiet Place, just to give you a quick synopsis, this is obviously a prequel. It's Quiet Place Day One. As New York City is invaded by alien creatures who hunt by sound, a woman named Sammy fights to survive. Again, we'll kind of just go base layer, spoiler-free, initial thoughts. George, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah. I'll start. I want to quickly start with Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn because I think they're fantastic. I know everyone saw my 2.5 rating and they were like, "Damn, this is a negative rating." When, like, I promise you, like, my rating scale is changing a little bit. Like 2.5 and 3, that's leaning more towards average for me. So there was nothing offensively bad here, but I'll start with Lupita and Joseph because I think they are the standouts. I think they work really well together. There are a lot of movies where lead actors and actresses fail with chemistry and they have a lot of lines. The fact that Lupita and Joseph succeeded alongside each other, basically being silent the entire movie and just relying on body language, it was impressive. It really was. And they were both fucking fantastic. And I would love to see, obviously Lupita has the Oscar. She's a very well-known name. But I hope this does something for Joseph because I would love to see him in more films.
Is he in Fantastic Four? Am I thinking of the wrong guy?
He is in Fantastic
Four.
He
is. Okay, who does he play?
Yeah.
Who's he playing?
He's
Johnny Storm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, exciting. Obviously, I want to see him in more, but obviously
he's got a lot coming up because he's in Gladiator 2.
He's in Gladiator
4. He's in one more I can't think of right now.
Wait, he's in what? After that,
he's
Gladiator and Fantastic Four.
I'm trying to find. Sorry, he's got another thing.
I know he's like pretty booked at the minute. I booked him ready.
Yeah, maybe it's just those two. But
which is great because he truly is great in the movie. But yeah, the movie.
Alex Garland's next film apparently.
Actually,
the one with like Charles Melton and stuff. It's like the war one. I think it's like Iraq War or something. Yeah. Ray Mendoza. I have no idea.
But yeah, the movie, it's weird. So like the first like 20 minutes of this movie, man, I was truly like locked in. Like they really like Lupita's character gets to New York City almost immediately. And it's like not even 5 minutes before day one of this world going quiet begins. So like you're really thrown into this shit really, really quickly. And for the first like 20 minutes, the camera work, and Sydney said this in her Letterboxd review, and I'm happy she did because this is exactly what I was thinking. It's very much like Cloverfield, where the camera is so close to like Lupita's face and all of these characters' faces that you feel like you're right there in this chaos with them. So I thought it made for a very cool like introduction to this world. The problem for me was like the remaining hour and 20 minutes of this movie. When I left the theater, one of the first things I said to Sophie was, this whole movie was pretty much get from point A to point B with a few close calls in between. Mm-hmm. So it got a little, and you guys tell me if you agree or disagree. It felt repetitive.
No, it's the same exact thing.
Yeah, it was just close call after close call. Yeah, it just felt repetitive. And I'm not going to call the movie lazy because I think each close call was very cool. Like that one shot, dude, and this isn't really getting to spoiler territory. Don't worry. But that one shot when they're at the bottom of the escalator and the thing is like crawling down the escalator in the theater, I was like, damn, like that's cool. Like every close call was built different. Like not to sound like a fucking dweeb, but like truly, like every close call like had its own flair and it was a lot of fun. It was just close call after close call, emotional beat here, close call, another emotional beat, close call, emotion, end of movie. So after like 45 minutes, I was kind of like, okay, we're kind of like overstaying our welcome here. We're just rehashing the same narrative beats, which again, not for the worst. I still had a good time with this movie. I'm also just like, obviously, just I'm comparing it to A Quiet Place Part 1 and Part 2, and I really, really like both of those movies. I think they're fantastic. I am happy we have this origin story because you guys know I'm a sucker for a good origin story. I think I wanted something a little more ambitious. Like the movie opened with that text that said, New York City on average sits at like 90 decibels, which is, what did it say? It was like, that's like someone consistently screaming forever.
Someone screaming.
So I was like, oh shit, shit's about to happen. Shit did happen, but it lasted like 15 minutes. So I don't know. I feel like for a New York City based alien invasion movie, I wanted something a little more ambitious. That's my review.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything George says. I'm higher on it than him. I think I have it at like a 73 out of 100 or 70 out of 100. I can't remember exactly. 3.5 out of 5. I like this franchise. I do a lot. I like the first one a lot, but as I watch like more and more of these, they're all the exact same. And so I might be a little higher on this one than I actually am, just because I like the world. I think it's an interesting concept, but we'll get into it. I don't fully understand these aliens and how easy it would be to get away from them. Maybe
Dude,
I'm not fully.
And also how easily they figure it out as well.
Thank you.
Because there is no way.
I said in my letterbox review, this movie is so fucking convenient. How she aliens invade, whatever. Lupita gets knocked out. She wakes up and immediately everyone knows how. How
you're just going to be screaming forever. Like everyone's running away. It's going to be pandemonium.
Dude, there's going to be noise left and right. How did they figure that out so fast?
I kind of wish this movie. So this movie is entirely from getting from point A to point B, basically. And I kind of wish the movie was them figuring out you got to be quiet or something like that.
I agree. No, I was expecting it to be like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, to be a gradual thing of like, how do we get away?
It feels like in all of these movies. So in A Quiet Place, obviously, they discover at the end that they can hurt them with the high-pitched noise. And then A Quiet Place 2 is the exact same thing with the exact same ending. Just you can use a high-pitched noise on a grander scale, like over speakers, which if you figure out the first one, you should figure out the second. Like that, that's the second in the nutshell, is the exact same thing with figuring that out. And then this one is not figuring something out, but it's just trying to travel to a place. I kind of wish they almost followed the same beat of their own drum and went with like figuring out that you have to be quiet. But I don't know how you would have done that. It'd been difficult, but
imagine if the movie was like they figure out this high-pitched noise. So the whole movie is Lupita and Joseph Quinn trying to get to the top of the Empire State Building to like send out shockwaves across New York City.
That could be legit. That would be awesome. Also, I think this movie severely underestimates how well an AK-47 works. And just like taking these, like just the army would be standing and just 40 of them dead.
Yeah, but again, we don't know how resilient.
Yeah, you don't know how many. I get that. But no, they die in the previous movies.
They do, but they're also like so quick that it's the point.
They are very quick. No, for sure. I'm sure they would cause hell. But there's a lot of good things in this. Joseph Quinn and Lupita Nyong'o being the standouts. Like George said, they're kind of the main people in this. Shout out Jaimin Hansu, just back again in franchises.
Way less than I expected.
I know he was in the second, so I know he's already in this franchise. But shout out him for just being in every single franchise that's ever been made. He is. He's on the island.
He was in this for like 2 minutes as well. Like, wasn't long.
I didn't really expect him to be in at the time because I knew it was a Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn movie. But yeah, I think it's fine. My review might be lower, and so I might lower it a little bit because I don't know if it's a 3.5, but I don't know if it's that much worse than the first two. And I don't know if the first one's really that great, but I think the first one is a very good like concept, and it has the benefit of being the original and giving you this new world and this new idea. And so that I think is interesting, and I think it does well with the emotion and everything.
The first one, yeah, like again, I like it's so hard not to compare the movies, but like I don't think anything in this franchise emotionally has hit the highs of A Quiet Place Part 1, the I love you scene, and the scene where his youngest son gets smacked around. Like those
it needed to be a franchise. Just keep it as that. So
it didn't. It really.
I don't think it needed.
No, it did do well.
It did do well, and it is a cool world. Like we've gotten so many, like Don't Breathe. Like we've gotten so many movies where you have to forfeit one of your senses, and a lot of them are, kind of lazy and weak.
Don't Breathe is cool. The second one's not.
No, Don't Breathe is cool, true. But like A Quiet Place came out, and it was like everyone was like, wow, I got all this food, snacks from my theater, didn't eat any of it. Like it was like a different experience because you're trying to be quiet as well.
Yeah. Horrible movie to eat popcorn during.
Oh, terrible.
All three of them.
Terrible.
Horrible. And I was munching yesterday.
No,
there was a guy next to me snoring. And you want to know how I could hear?
Because it was quiet?
Yeah, the whole movie's quiet.
Yeah, I got a bag of Reese's Pieces, and I didn't touch it. I put it on the ground immediately and didn't even touch it.
Yeah, horrible movie. Also, one thing to note, they Noah conned my boy Alex Wolff in this movie, like so bad. He is.
What do you mean?
He does look. No, he does. He does.
Like Noah Conn.
I wanted more of. I really like Alex Wolff. I don't know. I just really like.
I think, dude, Alex Wolff is so typecast in every horror movie right now. I feel like just because Hereditary.
What's he in?
Wait a second.
Hereditary.
What?
Don't say you didn't realize it was the Hereditary guy. Don't you dare.
Dude, was he the nurse?
Yeah.
Yes. What do you mean?
No way. I did not know that. Dude, I didn't know Alex Wolff could. Dude, he had a Oppenheimer. He had he had a full beard, and he was not as skinny as he usually is.
His name,
but he still looked like him. It's still
he's got an odd name spelling. I can't figure it
out. Also, speaking of that character, dude, one of the dumbest parts of this movie, the generator is going off, making all of this noise.
Wait! Spoilers.
Okay,
let me say my thing.
I have to put a spoiler tag on. My bad. Hold on.
Wait, can I say my non-spoiler first?
Say your. Okay. I'm not putting on yet. I'm just getting ready.
Okay, good.
I'm going to similar to you. I actually think, Cam, on what you were saying, I probably prefer this slightly over the second A Quiet Place film. I don't love the second one.
I got to go back to the second. I only saw it in theaters.
Well, I only watched it like fairly recently for some reason. Like 18 months ago. I wasn't as keen. I definitely like the first most out of all three. And again, that comes down to originality. It's difficult. I think this one, it's very simple, like George was saying. It's very like narrative point. There's just these, but I do think the close proximity moments are really, really cool. Like every moment of like chaos is really good, and I was really enjoying that. I think that's like opposite to a lot of horror films, where I think that these sequences, the like loud sequences, work really well. And I think what the Quiet Place films, all three of them, do well is like they balance the loud and the quiet. Yeah. I think using New York as like a template is the perfect thing because, it's literally like the grand opposite of it, isn't it? In terms of just the emphasis of the film. But I don't know. It just feels. I think this film felt quite like impulsive. Like it felt like they were just jumping from these huge moments and not allowing us to sit in them. And nothing, like for example, the ending should have been this massively rewarding emotional beat. Yeah. Didn't really compare that to the ending of like the first Quiet Place, like you said.
I actually. Can I put the spoiler tag on? Are we going to talk endings?
Yeah, can do.
All right, let me put the spoiler tag on.
They kiss.
No, they don't kiss.
It's a monster.
I like the ending. I think the ending, like, it makes... Okay, so the movie, you're introduced to Lupita's character, and you find out quickly that she has cancer, which at first I was like, that's a weird like thing to just drop in a Quiet Place episode. But then you get to the ending, and I think the sole purpose of it was for that one emotional beat where it's like, okay, like this, it's not even a sacrifice. It's like this is the end. Like, like the apocalypse is happening. If the apocalypse is happening, you got to assume Lupita's not going back to chemotherapy, which means that cancer is going to do nothing but spread and kill her a lot quickly. So
isn't her cancer like really terminal? I don't know, like high. I think that's the whole point that she's like, I think it's like terminal. She knows she's going to die soon. So
so like without treatment, it's like, why bother survive? Like all she wanted was pizza. Then she met Joseph Quinn's character. So her purpose became get him and the cat to safety. So the ending I thought actually was kind of fucking cool, where she's just walking down the streets listening to music, and then she takes out the headphones and the monster just drops behind her. Like I thought that was cool shit.
I like that. No, I like that bit. I mean the bit before when Joseph Quinn takes the cat away. I think that was a cool ending, but it didn't really hit. You know, the whole scene where he's like running away with the cat and he just about makes it into the water because they can't swim. That was cool, but it didn't work. But the ending, that's like this is a weird example. This is a weird comparison. Sound of Metal ending. That is very similar to that level of acceptance. You know, an understanding, and I think that was very similar, but obviously not quite as good. But no, that bit was cool. It was a bit before. Didn't really feel like they earned that big moment, and it felt quite obvious. And also, right, I'm sick of animals in horror films.
No, I like it.
No,
I like it, but I'm always scared they're gonna die. It's like,
dude,
I
was rooting.
I still got PTSD from when I watched I Am Legend with Will Smith. Like, I hate that shit.
Either Joseph Quinn or Lupita Nyong'o. No. I was like, kill them both, let the cat live.
I would prefer that massively.
I thought they were going to use the cat as a cheap, like emotional death. That
was my thought. Yeah.
Kind of so I thought that's what the cat was going to be there for, basically.
I would also say that cat the whole movie, man.
Shout out that cat is like behind the scenes pictures and everything are awesome.
Yeah, cool.
Sitting in its acting chair.
It has a page on Letterboxd. Did you see that?
Yeah, it has a credit, isn't it? I think that the Lupita and Joseph are like the massive standouts and the highlights of this.
They are
in a way that they have these really intimate moments. And while I don't think it allowed us to sit with him much, I think specifically kind of the scene when they're in the bar where Lupita's dad used to play is a cool moment. And I like that. I kind of like this whole pizza scenario because it really is kind of the small things in life, and it's her knowing she's going to die anyway and wanting more. But I just feel like it was very jumpy, you know. We would just get moment to moment. My favorite part of it were the chaos moments. Like I thought they were done really well, especially the first one.
I don't think like the emotional beats, like they were emotional, obviously, but I think a big part of that was because of how well Lupita and Joseph were acting their asses off. But I don't think they were like, those moments weren't necessarily like rewarding because we didn't have enough time with these characters. Like,
I think it could have. I rarely says. I think it could have been longer, to be honest. Like,
it did
like 20 more minutes, 2 hours, giving us a bit more time with those two. A couple more interactions. Could have been cool.
Like we don't see Joseph Quinn for like 25 minutes.
No. I think it's more, honestly.
Yeah. So in like a movie that's an hour.
Because if you remember, there's the whole like church scene when not church scene. The first scene when she goes into like the room and they're all in it, and Hansu, whatever his name is there. There's like that bit, and then there's like another bit, and then he like because he's like she's swimming through the subway and he comes up and he sees the cat. That's got to be like 35, 40 minutes at least, sure.
Yeah,
so he's a good chunk of film.
And in a movie that's only an hour and 40 minutes, that's really not like we don't spend a lot of time with Joseph Quinn.
Yeah, no,
not as much as I thought. Because Alex Wolff is like her.
Yeah, he's number two for
he's
like 25 minutes.
Yeah, so, I honestly, I was kind of sad when he died. I really liked him in this.
Dude, what a stupid fucking death, though. The generator's going off, and we don't see one monster. And then he rips his shirt and gets fucked.
Horror film death
is so stupid. Yeah, literally, that is the most tropey horror movie death they could have thrown in. Like, oh my god, he survives something that should have absolutely slaughtered him.
Here's my
issue.
I would have been more shocked if the more obvious thing had happened. You know, if the generator would have just done it.
Franchise and this idea is the generator's going off. It's super loud, right? Obviously, these beings that are attracted to noise are going to come to it. I don't fully understand why they can't step away.
Yeah,
this is where the noise is. They're going to attack the noise. They don't have any other sense. They don't have sight.
I guess it's because like they're quite big and they all come at once. And if they touch them, they'll know someone's there. You know?
I I guess
If it's a
but
small proximity, of
It's more so like, why would you risk going towards the noise to turn it
down.
off rather than walk in the other direction and just get away from the noise? like when Joseph Quinn,
because they are there, though, aren't they? Like
they're
that's their
running
kind
through
of-
the streets, right? They're running through the streets and they're trying to get away from where the noise is. And as they're running through the streets, they're shattering glass on cars, so those alarms go off. It's the same thing. Like they are
Great
making
idea.
noise.
As
Yeah, they're
soon
making
as I
noise
throw
and
a-
leaving.
As soon as I throw a rock at a car, I'm jumping to a
gone.
different car.
Yeah.
And standing. I'm sitting still and just praying that from them getting to point A to point B, it's not through me. Because they.
But I guess it's like
go at anyone. They go at noise.
I guess it's like the whole thing where it's like, you know, certain types of bears, you have to like, sit still, like shout them, whatever.
Yeah.
If you were in this situation, especially if it's day one, right?
I get that.
You're going to run away. That's like your human instinct is just going to be to run in some sort of direction. Do you know what I mean? So, but it's going to be
on
hard
day
just to
one.
sit there.
On day one, sure, I'll run away. But like the second we know that, yeah, they're attracted to sound, I'm not
I don't
leaving
know,
this
'cause, like,
apartment.
they are
I'm
like,
cl-
bro. One of the
I'm
best
closing my
things about
blinds
this,
and sitting in my apartment forever.
Yes.
one of the best things about this is their design is so fucking weird.
Yeah,
Like it really
it's
makes me
gross.
feel like it's
Long
like
legs,
skin crawling.
weird
The like
It's
ears.
gross.
weird head. It is actually fucking weird, to be honest. Like that's cool. I do like that.
But then later in the movie, they get to her apartment, and then she just wants pizza, right? And I get that, like for her,
I think that's cool though. I get
No,
that.
I'm fine with like that story. I agree. Like she knows it's over. It's over for her before like even this, because obviously she's in hospice. She's getting care, and now she can't get her medicine. Like she knows, her time is coming, and she just wants pizza. And it comes full circle with like her dad and her going to that pizza place.
And that pizza looks so shit as well. What they got?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't look right.
Like,
No,
cold.
they did not get the pizza from where they actually wanted. But
Yeah, they
got
didn't.
some
And
old
that was cute
four
when he
days.
wrote he took a pen and like
Yeah.
wrote the name on it. I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
They got like 4-day-old pizza that looked like awful. But
Yeah.
as soon as as soon as I get in an apartment that has food for a couple days, I'm not moving for shit.
No, I'm not leaving.
Nah.
Would you stay
I'm
there
not-
on your? Would you stay on your own? Like,
Yes.
you would.
Yes. There's
I don't know. I wouldn't want to be on my own in these situations, though.
Dude, I after the movie, I asked Sophie this before the movie started. I was like, if there was an alien invasion, like, what are you doing? Are you trying for Sophie to get back to DC, or are you staying in the city? And she's like, I'll probably just hitch a ride with someone. I'm like, no, you're not doing that. Like,
Hitching
if
a
that-
ride, you can't get in a car.
dude, I'm sitting
Well,
in my apartment until my food runs out. I don't know how much food I have in this apartment. I think I could last a month or two. Okay. I have a supermarket 2 blocks away. I'm
gotta go
going there.
raid it.
I'm going there as quietly as possible. If you think
What
I'm
if Victoria's on the other side of the city, though? Are you going to leave then? Surely.
like to like what? Go save her? What do you want me to do? I'm gonna die.
Yeah, you would. Of course you would. Cam, back me up on this, please.
I mean,
I'm
like,
like
I
the
think
other side
think
this
I
way.
would. I'm not
I
gonna speak for George necessarily.
would. I wouldn't be happy about
Would
it.
it be like would it be like
That's
to
funny.
go? It's not a to go save her. If I have to,
To
walk
be
there
with
to get her,
them.
or if I have to walk there to get to her, just to
You're not
walk
walking back.
to
You're not
with
walking
them?
back. No,
Okay.
you're not walking
I was
back.
gonna say, why isn't she walking
Yeah.
this way?
Yeah, no. Even if she was, I'd still like want to go and like yeah.
And
Right.
also, I was so mad when Lupita Nyong'o is walking through the city and like that big wave of people are coming.
They're so dumb, dude.
She
So
knows
dumb.
at this point. She knows.
Yeah,
it's
what the
noise.
fuck is that about?
Get
Yeah,
the
that was
fuck
crazy.
Out of this
Yeah.
group. These people
All
are wheeling-
walking at the same time,
All walking at the
thousands
same
of
time.
people.
They're carrying luggage, pushing wheelchairs. I'm so sorry. You can't be.
But who brings a suitcase when there's a fucking like?
Yeah,
It's like
suitcase, man.
the worst thing you could do,
I'd
possibly.
punch this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
straight away.
terrible. But yeah, I just don't fully. I don't know. I don't fully understand their powers to the point like, why can't I throw a rock at a car and then jump over to
No.
the left?
Well, you can.
I think you can. I think that's what makes the movie stupid. Is that like the
Yeah.
movie is just
They
like
have to add these
electing.
horror tropes.
Yeah, you have to add the horror tropes, but the
I get
movie
it.
is ignoring the fact that like if aliens came down that were attracted to sound and we knew that they were attracted to sound, that was their only sense, I think we would survive that a lot
That's
easier.
what I'm saying. I think an AK-47 will get 9 of them in one.
Yeah, but then you're gonna have 50 attracted
No,
to you.
bro, there's
because
so many. By the time you've done your first burst, you're reloading. You are gonna
once the clip is empty.
I agree. You got to be the last one shooting. So the first 10 people have gotten killed, but they killed 100. I'm just killing the last.
Okay, here's the question: how many actually are there though? Because we see, like, you know,
there are a lot. There were a lot in this movie.
Also, they didn't just land in New York, right? There's a like girl on a radio at one point, and she's talking to and Canada and Argentina, wherever she's talking to. Just like with points of contact where these. So yeah, we'd probably be fucked.
Here's a question for you both, because I saw someone else reviews. Can't remember who it was. Do you think this film is worse than the other two because of the fact that the aliens are such an ever-growing presence, in that we see so many of them, and they aren't as, you know, the encounters with the aliens of this one aren't as small, you know, they are quite big. I think that makes sense because it's the first day and everyone's gonna make one.
I think you have to go bigger and bigger as you make more movies.
But it's day one as well. Like, it's day one.
Yeah.
So
we see a lot of them in the second one too. Like when the aliens find that island that they're like hiding out on.
Yeah, I suppose
they come in bulk.
I guess it's more like a cityscape, isn't it? Where like if you're on a New York street and there's like so many running at once.
But also it kind of makes sense because the second and the third one happen a year and a half down the line. So at that point, they know to go to like remote locations where you're only going to happen to encounter one or two here and there. Whereas on day one, New York City, obviously, it's going to be just a clusterfuck.
That's the worst place you could possibly.
Terrible spot, dude. That's why I'm not leaving this apartment. Can
I say something about this franchise that I think you'll agree with me? You can very clearly see a stark like contrast in how much of a like franchiseification this franchise gets, because with just the movie posters. Because the first one,
don't even get me started.
The first one is a dark and ominous. It's just like the main poster is Emily Blunt in the bathroom with like the creature kind of behind her, and it's like a horror. And then the second one is floating heads. And as soon as you get floating heads, and then this
one's like they are.
This one's bad. But
the first poster, actually, the first poster is cool, actually. I like the first
very
poster.
cool.
Really
but then
cool.
I'm saying if you look at the default poster,
I agree.
Yeah, it's.
I think you can see the franchiseification in the film, just in general. To be honest,
yeah, you can. I think even the second one being directed by John Krasinski, you still have like some heart and soul of, like, obviously this was a passion project of his. It's his it's his directorial debut, right? I don't think he had one before.
Think so. Yeah.
So this was like an idea he had in his head. He cared about it, got really popular, and I'm guessing they said, "Hey, can you make another?" And he was like, "Sure." You know, and it's the exact same thing. So it's very clearly not as good. Like I said, I have not seen it since it came out, and I did a review on TikTok well prior to me getting like.
When did it come out? Was it 2021? Okay.
Yeah.
That was like before I got any followers. It was like the start of my senior year of college. I was like, I'll just fucking try it. Why not? And then I stopped forever, and then I came back eventually.
Nice.
But yeah.
Anything else we want to touch on?
Chrissy, Six Train, dude.
Oh my god, that video is terrible.
Dude, that video is horrendous, man. That video is horrendous. So, oh my god.
Am I allowed to tell people to fuck off if I'm a famous person?
Yes.
Like, can you be like,
dude, I would say, I don't know how some of these people have like this much composure. Like, I would lose my mind if I were asked such dumb fucking questions.
Yeah.
It's not even a question.
Not even a question. It's a request. It's a request for words.
It's like you're asking for a cameo at that point.
It's like a zoo animal. It's like a zoo.
Yeah, no, it literally is. Like, it literally is.
Animal. Yeah, that's what it is.
Like, do this. Like, you poking him.
Do this for me. Yeah. It's
crazy.
It's 900,000 likes on TikTok. Oh, hell yeah, that's insane.
That's terrible.
I didn't know what that was, by the way. I had to search that this morning. I actually didn't know he was in Stranger Things. I completely forgot about it.
I'm gonna text Tyler to come back.
Yeah,
okay.
I was talking about Stranger Things with Emma just to derail while Tyler's not here. I was talking to Emma about Stranger Things and just Joseph Quinn, and it's like This is his first thing. He got super famous from it, and good for him. Stop bringing it back. Not everything has to be about Stranger Things. You don't have to ask him to say.
I hate when people do that.
Wake up. Yeah, no,
it's like going up to Daniel Radcliffe and just asking about Harry Potter all the time.
Like, hey, can you tell me Expelliarmus or something?
That is literally what it is. Though.
That's what it is, and I'm sure like Daniel Radcliffe has a much more of an affinity for Harry Potter because it was like 10 years of his life and how
we have to kind of progress,
Joseph Quinn was only in a season of this show.
And it was like 3 years ago at this point.
Yes, it was
a long time ago.
He was in a season of this show. It's not like he was one of the kids growing up with it. Like he was in a season of this show and died. He was the character that died off in the season.
Spoiler.
They always have one. I mean, come on. It was like 3 years ago. Did you guys see the picture or the picture or video of them riding bikes? And it was like old ass men riding bikes. Go pay taxes. Oh, they look so it's brutal. It's
especially Finn Wolfhard because that dude's like 6'6" now. That's the big issue. It's hard for him to look like a kid.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I cannot believe that was Finn Wolfhard.
Yeah,
not Finn Wolfhard, Alex Wolff.
Alex Wolff. Yeah, they know believe... my boy.
Yeah,
Tyler, I need you to understand, right? It looks like Alex Wolff. I need you to tell Jordan.
I not look like Alex Wolff.
Go look at my last tweet.
I saw it. Yeah,
I'm going to look.
Tyler, would you recognize that to be Alex Wolff if you didn't know?
I mean, yeah, I would, but I also just rewatched Old.
No way. I'm never
more recent. Alex Wolff is on the brain.
I'm still not convinced that this is Alex Wolff.
Oh God, I've never seen him with a beard before this. To be fair, so he's got a very distinct pimple or birthmark or whatever it is on his mouth, and so like with the beard, it kind of covers it. So I could see where you're coming from, but I don't necessarily agree.
Crazy.
All right, I'm off for Kinds of Kindness. Text me. Not playing anywhere in Indiana. Shout out.
Bye.
So 2.5 for George, 3 out of 5 for me, and 3.5 for Cam on The Quiet Place. Now we will move on to probably the biggest release of the week in our context, and that is Kinds of Kindness. Let me get the synopsis up. So obviously this is an anthology, so we've got three different stories directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. His when did Poor Things come out for you guys? It was like December, I think.
December, like half a year
January
ago.
For everything. Okay, yeah. So yeah, just a synopsis. A fable following a man without choice who tries to take control of his own life. A policeman who is alarmed that his wife was missing at sea has returned and seems a different person. And a woman determined to find specific someone with a special ability who is destined to become a prestigious leader. What I'll probably do is I think we go like. Do you want us to discuss them in order? I think discuss each story in order as like a separate thing. And then after, I'd like us to give like our rankings as well and kind of what we thought. I know I've already kind of put mine out there, but I think that would always be a good idea because I think with anything like this, it's always going to very differ heavily on how, well you perceive each story to be. And that will also, determine your experience with the film. So yeah, we'll kind of just, I think, go straight into story one and give again, we'll do it like a little mini review of each. Give spoiler-free thoughts of each, then kind of go into spoilers. So Tyler, obviously we don't say your rating yet. Say your rating after all three, because obviously we don't know yet. But yeah, if you want to give your thoughts on one specifically for now.
Yeah. So yeah, because as we mentioned, this is an anthology, so all three of these are completely separate. There is this character of RMF who's in all three, and he has the same name, but he's like the same. They're completely separate for all intents and purposes. These three are just nothing related to each other except the cast. First off the bat, just relating to the overall movie as a whole, is I didn't get from the trailers and the poster because obviously the trailers were super minimal and didn't tell us much, which I loved. I thought this is a Jesse Plemons anthology. All three of these, he's the main guy, easily the most screen time, easily the most to do in all three of these. Which
other than three, isn't it?
Wasn't really expecting. I thought just naturally be Emma Stone be the main person of all three. Whereas, the first one specifically we'll talk about, she doesn't really show up until the very end of the first one.
Very end.
So this is I was happy to see this is a Jesse Plemons show. We saw Late Night with the Devil is kind of David Dastmalchian's first time being the lead person. This is kind of Jesse Plemons' first time being the guy for a movie, unless I'm forgetting.
It is, isn't it? No, I think you're right. Actually,
which I love because I think he's great, and I think he's great in all of these. We're talking about the first one, the death of RMF. So I thought this one was the most. easy for me to pick up on the thematic elements of control. Like obviously you have Willem Dafoe controlling every single aspect of Jesse Plemons' life in this and telling him everything from who to marry, what to buy her, what gifts to, like, basically like kind of just textbook. Like I drew a lot of comparisons to, you know, like the type of people nowadays who follow like the Andrew Tates of the world and those kind of things, where it's like whatever they tell you to do, you do exactly that, and just like don't stray away from what they're telling you. And then you find out, like, you know, like Jesse Plemons and his wife, Hung Chao, who, like, I was happy to see her in it a lot, because again, with the cast is stacked, you never know how much you're going to get of each person. And like, Hung Chao is the type of character who I was like, or type of actress who I was like, could easily see her being someone who's like barely in this, but she was actually in it quite a bit. Whereas like Hunter Schafer was like the one who was like really like barely in it for like.
Yeah, we kind of knew that going in, didn't we? There was like something about that online, but
I didn't
really
see that. Yeah.
Oh, did you not see that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I wish we'd have seen her more as well.
Mm-hmm. But no, we got a good amount of Hung Chao. But basically, yeah, like Willem Dafoe is controlling every aspect of Jesse Plemons' life. And Seth, I know you watched a couple of Yorgos' shorts, but did you watch Nimic?
Is that the one? The
one with the guy in a subway.
Yes, I watched that the subway one.
I got a lot of similarities from that to this, because
like
when he meets Emma Stone later in this and finds out she's kind of being controlled the same way, doing the exact same tasks, it's kind of like, oh, this kind of reminded me of that, which is interesting, because when I watched that short, I was like, I actually liked it a lot as a short, but I was like, you know, I'd be interested to see where he goes with this.
I agree.
Story. And I feel like this kind of low key kind of might have been him expanding on that idea of Nimic. So I liked it a lot, and Emma Stone didn't show up till later, but really it's just, you know, a story about control, which is, you know, as we're going to talk about Yorgos' filmography later, like all of his films are really about people's ability to control their own lives. How much of it is, you know, free will versus destiny, or what's going to happen is going to happen. I felt like thematically this one was the one that was the easiest for me to pull some threads on, which isn't like a positive comment or a negative comment. It's just more setting us up for a conversation with the next two. But I like the first one. Not going to say where I rank it. But definitely got me invested in the movie and excited to see where it was going. The score, which is kind of similar throughout all three of the parts, very chilling and haunting, like a lot of like the just vocal choral chanting. I was like, this kind of, you know, getting under my skin a bit, but I like the first one, you know, obviously clear story control, and drew a lot of similarities, both Nimic as well as, you know, like the Andrew Tate type people in the world right now.
Yeah. George?
Yeah, I like the first one. I feel like it's like tough to talk about this movie a little bit without, like, I don't know, talking about all of them in their entirety, since it's like
they share, like, if anyone's listening, they share
they share a lot of similarities. So it's like I like the first one because that's the one that felt like the most refreshing. I think it's a little paper thin. It's very like, it doesn't take you a long time to kind of like realize that there's this like allegiance and this like this, I don't know, I don't want to say like domination kink going on, but that's like, it was very easy to like uncover what Yorgos was going for. And then he kind of like rehashes all of these themes and social commentaries across the remaining two anthologies. But this story was it was the most refreshing because it was number one, and Jesse Plemons kind of puts on this a really intriguing performance, and Willem Dafoe plays this like manipulation character really, really well. I don't know. We're talking all of Yorgos' filmography, so I'm going to try not be as negative as I want to be because Yorgos, you know, my Greek guy. It's paper thin, like I said. It's not. There's just not much to it. Like this whole, all three anthologies back to back to back. They're a mile wide and an inch deep. They don't really go anywhere. They don't stretch kind of your mind and what you have to think about. Once you kind of figure out and piece together what Yorgos is going for, it becomes a little shallow, and that's why I lowered my rating on rewatch, because, and I'll say this for pretty much every Yorgos film we're about to review, but a lot of Yorgos movies are just a lot better on first watch when they're unpredictable, when you don't know what direction they're heading. On rewatch, though, once you kind of understand where he's going, you also realize there's not much more to pick up on in his narratives. So the first one was great because it was the first one. I think it has that benefit of being the introduction of this movie. And then by the time you get to like the end of the second one and the middle of the third one, you're probably a little drained out and they're probably a little tiresome because a lot of these a lot. I think all three of these overstay their welcome a little bit. Not necessarily a negative, just a personal preference. But I like the first one. I think that was maybe the strongest. I don't know. I mean, maybe my ranking will change as we continue talking about all three stories, but I like the first one.
Yeah, I'm same. I think that I probably generally agree. I think across all three, other than one, in my opinion, they're quite heavy-handed, and I think that's probably a consistent theme within Yorgos as a filmmaker. And I think that works for some, doesn't work for others. I think this one is very obvious. It's Jesus Christ, power dynamic between employee and employer, and kind of like George said, the kind of the dominance and kind of wanting more, fantasize of more, and really wanting that acceptance from kind of the higher above and the superiority figure. Jesse Plemons I like a lot. I actually just checked this title. I think this is his first like lead role, I guess you could say. Obviously, he leads actually two of these. I would probably say, two of these. I think it's really good.
I was just going to say, he was the lead in USS Callister, but obviously that's a TV show.
TV movie.
It's a critique on exploitation, especially probably corporate exploitation of kind of that era of, as we all know, what happens to employees across the world, and something that's very, very commonplace in society, in workplaces. Willem Dafoe is great. I mean, I think the cast across the board is one of the strongest things about this in general, about all three stories. I think having that consistent, you've got Willem Dafoe, Emma Stone, Margaret Qualley, Jesse Plemons. What's that guy's name? I'm going to forget his name.
Joe Alwyn?
No, not Joe Alwyn.
Mamadou?
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah.
Mamadou,
and Hong Chau as well, of course. I really, really like the casting. I think it works, just really, really well. I like Hong Chau especially. And I think this one's good. Again, it's pretty heavy-handed. It's pretty obvious what they're going for. I think technically I like this one a lot. It has that kind of traditional absurdist humor as well. Like there's a couple scenes within this that are kind of, Tyler, do you want to put the spoilers thing on? Because I'm going to say something.
Yes.
So, for example, just to go into it, obviously, at the end, especially when, Willem Dafoe essentially asks, the whole, part of it throughout is Willem Dafoe is asking to kind of run into this guy with a car, and he's like, I don't want to kill him or whatever. And then what happens after that? So he meets Emma Stone, and she's obviously been set to do it, and she obviously hits him with the car because she was told to, whatever. And this is like Yorgos summed up. It's like that final scene, near the final scene, when he essentially finds this guy who's been hit by a car in hospital. He pretends to be a nurse, steals a uniform, takes this guy on a wheelchair, just dumps him outside, runs him over when he's already like in a coma or some shit, spins around, and then runs him over again. It's like that is the most kind of absurd. It's just in your face. Disgusting imagery. But yeah, I like this one. Is there anything like specific you wanted to go into with that at all? Where do you want to start with it?
It's really relatable because if Willem Dafoe told me to do anything, I would. So
who was it who reviewed that? I saw someone else review it like that.
Oh, did someone actually say that? I was about to write. I was in the midst of writing my Horizon review while you guys were reviewing A Quiet Place. I was going to get into Kinds of Kindness next, but yeah, I was going to say something like that. But well, one thing I just love to set the environment, which is weird because this whole movie is kind of like, I do agree with George, like all three parts. Some of them do overstay their welcome a bit, and there's a lot of creepy atmospheres. And it doesn't seem like a movie I'd want to like rewatch, but something about it, the atmosphere of it was just magnetic to me for some reason. I feel like a lot of it has to do with what you're saying with the cast. Like they're all great, and especially because I watched it right after watching Horizon, and I did like Horizon, but there's a lot of uneven performances where some people are getting great stuff and some are just terrible. Kinds of Kindness, there's not a single bad performance, and so the whole movie just had me locked in. But I was gonna say, like, atmosphere wise, having the trailer be there's the two different trailers, but one of them being like the Sweet Dreams Are Made of These, and then just having that be the opening song in the movie. I was like, oh, I'm locked in now. Like I was bumping, I was like, I'm ready for this, let's go. But yeah, I don't know, something about this was really gravitational to me, and I was into it. And I think Jesse Plemons and Willem Dafoe together are just so great. And then ultimately you get to the final, ending where you said, kind of runs over the guy and goes back to the house with Margaret Qualley and Willem Dafoe. And Willem Dafoe's like, I told you he was going to be, he was going to do this for me. And, I feel like there's themes of, control and, destiny throughout this movie. And almost the ending to me is kind of saying like, there can be comfort in just succumbing to the control sometimes, or having a routine and just, not breaking out of the norm and just kind of doing what you're told. And it's not always like the worst thing in the world. I mean, obviously he killed a guy, but obviously if you think deeper than that, what he's saying, like, I think a lot of times for me personally is like you want to carve your own way or like try and be a trailblazer, and sometimes that's great and they can push you to new places, but sometimes like there's comfort and routine and just sticking to the norm.
It's a very common thing in Yorgos' films, and obviously we'll go into this more, but it's like the whole thing of conformity within kind of society, and I think that's very present, ever present within all three of these. And I know what you're saying, because I think that, and again, not to give my score away as of yet, but there are certain parts of all three of these stories I wasn't as high on, and I definitely was like falling off a bit. But in terms of, like George said, Oversaid and the Welcome, I think this one specifically, I won't go into it. But my point is that I was never like bored while watching this, because I think I always expected something new, and whether that's new thematically, no, because I think Yorgos is a very cynical filmmaker. His humanity themes are ever present throughout all its films. Just something new in terms of imagery. I really like his kind of minimalist style. I love the score. I love the cast. And if you have an ensemble like this, it's going to be hard for me to be de-interested at any specific moment. And I think this really works in his favor, that even though there were moments where I was like, okay, maybe we can cut this one off now, I was never bored. Like in many films where it's like, Tyler will compare it to last week, there were moments in the bike riders where I'm like, I am so bored right now, because there was nothing there of interest to me. And I think this is what it kind of pulls out, is there's an ever-present gravitational pull of something, whether it be a bit of ludicrous imagery, whether it be a cast member, whether it be, a point of dialogue that you found really poignant. For me, there was one in the third story, which obviously we'll go into. But yeah, I was never like kind of bored throughout, which I think is a compliment itself, considering it is like 245, something like that total. It's pretty long.
Even though my rating is like, again, it's a positive rating, but my review is very leaning towards the negative. I do agree with you. I was never bored. I think like I would love to have compared my reaction watching all three of these back to back to back in a theater like I did to my reaction had Yorgos, let's say, released like once a week for 3 weeks straight. Because I think in that case, it would have been a lot more positive, because I was not bored. Boredom was not this movie's problem. This movie's problem, and we'll get into it when we start talking about the second and the third stories, this movie's problem was Yorgos does such a good job at giving us these three very compelling stories. Like the first story opens to, Jesse Plemons doing whatever the fuck Willem Dafoe says. Second story, very cool, opens up to a man whose wife is lost at sea and she returns home and she's acting strange. Third story, Emma Stone's character is trying to find, I guess, this Messiah. I don't know what they're calling it. So each story opens to something very intriguing. My problem with this movie is that Yorgos ends up in the exact same spot every single time with what he's trying to say, which is why when I say this movie is tiresome, it's rehashing its ideas over and over and over again.
I think that's the problem with an anthology in general, because they have to kind of share similar themes, but it can get a bit tiresome when you're watching for nearly 3 hours and they're all very similar in what they're trying to portray. Obviously, there's differences, of course. In the second one, we're into more relationships, and third one, we're into more, faith and cult-like movements and whatever. But it's very much on conformity, acceptance, humanity, which is something we see ever present, like I said, in Yorgos' films. And I think with anthologies in general, it's always going to be difficult for a director to... The chance of really liking every single one is going to be tough when they share such similar themes, in my opinion. But yeah, what do we want to do? We want to 2 straight away, or just what?
Yeah,
I think let's go to 2.
Yeah, let's go to
okay,
2. 2 is cool.
Well, 2.
No, I saw your ranking. I know.
Yeah. So no, actually, I don't dislike it by any means, but yeah. So 2 essentially follows. I'll read this synopsis because it's easier. A policeman, played by Jesse Plemons, of course, who was alarmed that his wife, who was missing at sea, has returned and seems a different person. Again, kind of base thoughts. Tyler, if you want to go for yours first.
So I mentioned the first one I thought was like the easiest for me to pull thematic elements from of the 3. I think this one was the toughest one for me, and I'm really keen to hear your 2 thoughts, because to me this one I feel like I need to watch again to kind of pull more from it. But this one, I'm trying to remember like compared to the third, but definitely this one's definitely weird compared to the first one. Like they're all weird in their own respects, but this one, you have Emma Stone is like, you hear the story of her being like a castaway basically on this island and not not barely surviving, and I think you hear like one person dies, another person's like, or a couple people died, and someone's in critical condition. She's the only one who comes back like normal, and things just aren't right. Just things aren't adding up. We won't get into the spoilers part yet, but there's things that make Jesse Plemons think this isn't. Yeah,
that's not a spoiler. Like, her shoes don't fit.
Right, her shoes don't fit because
she doesn't know his favorite song. Whatever.
Yeah, I think she like likes chocolate now. She didn't before, or something like that.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of things that are strange that are leading Jesse Plemons to be like, this doesn't seem like this is my wife, even though she's carbon copy, exactly identical. So then the rest of this bit is just him trying to really push the bounds between both her and I believe, was it Hung Chao, whose husband was like the other person who survived, but he was in like critical condition, but he was like kind of saying like, hey, this person might not be who you think it is either. Yep. And you kind of just get, basically 50 minutes of him trying to get proof from or validation from other people or in himself that, this person is not who she says she is coming back. And then you get to the point where spoilers will happen, but bizarre, crazy. You get some definitely like absurd moments in this that are a little borderline grotesque. And yeah, another strong performances once again. Definitely the weirdest one of the three for me and the hardest one for me to pull stuff from. So I'm more excited to hear you guys talk about it.
I don't know if I'm just gonna again, George, you can go for one. I just wanted to see if you guys would agree. Just whilst got it in my head. For me, this one is all about like fantasized relationships and kind of wanting that, having those expectations of people and kind of wanting more in what you've got. And then also from, again, we'll go into spoilers, from Emma Stone's point of view, it's like, it is the classic, how far will you go for someone you love? What will you do for someone you love in what we see? But I think it's like, when she gets back and we see, there's scenes of a sexual nature, because I don't want to spoil it, whatever. And you have this guy who's kind of really withdrawn and wants this, Emma Stone gets back and he doesn't recognize whatever. I see it as like a fantasized version of her maybe not meeting his own expectations. And I think that really falls into the end, which again, I won't spoil, but when the ending happens after what she does happens, that's kind of like the final straw where it's like, I've got you where I want you, so to speak. And also in that context, she's kind of, she's, got that attention that she desperately required by doing the biggest sacrifice possible in whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to give that because I'll forget it otherwise. George, if you want to give your thoughts anyway.
On everything, the whole thing, or are we strictly talking about the themes of this one? What are we?
No, just your thoughts on the second.
I just go, okay, we'll do everything and I'll get to the themes. So this one, and I feel like I can't review this one without spoiling where it might fall in my ranking, but this was my favorite one, I think, which I know, Seth, you even put like ... to all the way.
I'm going to remove some dots right now. I'm speaking about this online.
But here's the reason. I like I said, at the end of the day, in my mind, and maybe I'm not smart enough to dissect every single thematic, social, political commentary that Yorgos is going for in each of these three stories. But so in my, we'll call it low IQ, uneducated mind, Yorgos ends up in the exact same spot. And that exact same spot is, no matter the situation, no matter the environment you're placed in, whether you are a carbon copy of someone's wife, or if you are Jesse Plemons in the first one and you are working for a boss who is very manipulating, no matter the environment, setting, situation, people, everyone has that desire to feel accepted, to feel loved, to feel wanted. Everyone, no one person is immune to that feeling. So the reason this one is my favorite is because Yorgos kind of subverts your expectations for a while. You are introduced to Jesse Plemons' character, who his wife is lost at sea. And I know a lot of people on Twitter are like, hey, don't compare these to Black Mirror. That's disrespectful. I'm comparing it to Black Mirror. Fuck you. This is a Black Mirror episode. It's very, at its surface, something is very clear, present. Cop, wife, lost at sea. Game over. Then we are reintroduced to the wife, and immediately we're thrown into this, I guess I'll call it like a psychological thriller, where Jesse Plemons is immediately questioning who this woman is. Is it his wife? Is it whatever, whoever you think it may be? But you are following this journey from the POV of Jesse Plemons, and it is not his wife in his mind. So immediately you're kind of like, okay, what the fuck is going on? Which is why I think this one kind of succeeds where the other two, I don't want to say fail, because the other two stories absolutely do not fail. They just don't engage me the way I would like them to, because I thought I was on a very different journey with this movie, with this story. I thought it was something entirely different, where Yorgos was focusing heavily on social commentary in the first story. I truly thought this was a massive pivot to something more supernatural. But again, Yorgos kind of subverts those expectations, and he ends up in the same spot where, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but basically this carbon copy wife is going to do anything in her power to feel accepted by her husband, to feel loved by her husband. She even, at the dinner table with Mamadou and Margaret Qualley, she's like trying to acclimate with them as best as she can. And obviously it's very weird, because she just immediately was like, should we go up to the bedroom? Which like maybe the old wife probably would not have said, because she understands the situation. So it was also the funniest one for me, which I think there was like very dry comedy sprinkled throughout this entire, all three pieces. Mm-hmm. This was where like, I think Jesse Plemons was just fucking hilarious. Like, it opens up to him in the police station, like rubbing this guy's hair. And then when he's trying to explain to Hong Chow that like, that's not his wife and that's not her husband, he was just like very funnily telling the story about like how she hit him with his stick thing. So I thought it was very funny. But again, on rewatch, it was slightly tiresome and it was slightly annoying, because now
you've seen it twice, haven't you? I keep forgetting.
Yeah. So on rewatch, I was like, yeah, this is cool, but like I know Yorgos is about to end up in the exact same spot. I know his one goal is basically to tell all of us through social commentary that no one is immune to this desire to feel wanted and loved. And that's exactly where he ends up, where he wants his audience to understand that his characters are going to do whatever it takes. In story 1, kill RMF. In story 2, I won't spoil it, but obviously she does something to that extreme that shows us as an audience member that these characters, Yorgos' characters, are going to do anything they should and anything they can do to like fit in. Mm-hmm. Sorry, that was long.
Should we
also my mum's initials are RMF. Kind of made me sad, like kill RMF. Yeah. Still interesting anecdote. But yeah, we'll move on to 3. So 3. Okay.
Do you have any spoilers to talk about with the second one or no?
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, I was just gonna say further, like now that you guys are talking about it more connections are starting to be made in my mind. It makes sense. Like, obviously, like the one thing we didn't mention, which I guess it's good to kind of keep in the spoiler section, because it's one of the weirder parts of this one, is the dogs and the story of the dogs, and then the credits being the dogs. So what I kind of get from that, based on especially your guys' discussion, making it more clear, is like, so Emma Stone had that commentary about like, she said she would rather like live in an undesirable situation that felt like secure rather than like having nothing at all. And then we obviously, she tells the story like when she's allowed to see dogs ruled humans. And then at the end, you see the dogs driving the car, which is very funny. But I feel like that's kind of just talking about what you were talking about with the whole control in a relationship. And Jesse Plemons wants this desirable woman that kind of just follows his orders, similar to like what he was doing to Willem Dafoe. And Emma Stone basically kind of says like, obviously dogs being a very domesticated animal, something that humans have controlled for centuries. And it was kind of, shoes on the other foot in her vision she had on the island, where dogs were controlling things, or a version of like, her controlling Jesse Plemons' relationship. And she's kind of like, you know what? It's just not something I cared for. Like, I'd rather be in this situation that I don't fully feel like love, but like I feel comfort in it and secure in it, rather than something that's unknown, which would be her being like, the powerful one, or her kind of venturing off on her own or taking charge of the relationship. So, of course, we see her then cut off her thumb, cut out her liver, in order to kind of get him back. And then at the very end, she comes in through the front door, which is kind of almost her letting her guard down and be like, all right, I'm fully back. I've proved myself to you that I'm like, I'll do anything you want and I'll succumb to this relationship. But yeah, just so much funny moments in this one with like Jesse Plemons being like, Man, that thumb was disgusting. I need something. I need something more like your entire leg or your liver.
Well, that's yeah. I mean, I agree with your at the end of the credits. I agree, by the way. When I was saying earlier, when I was referring to, and I was saying, go into the actual peak, because the ending is she essentially cuts out her own liver, and he walks downstairs, and well, you're not cutting out your own liver and surviving. I'll tell you that much.
Mhm.
But after that, it's like obviously she's on the highest level, and then he gets a knock at the door, and who do you think it is? His real wife in this instance. And again, that's kind of where I think it's more of like not more of, I completely agree, but it's like a fancy thing of that idealistic life, like a domesticated animal, like Tyler said. But yeah, that was a really absurd moment. Like the when she had me like squeamish a little bit, when it's like a close up of her cutting the finger off. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like it's weird.
What would if your choice, if someone said you have to cut out your liver or your leg, I know your leg has that one artery that like if it gets nicked, it's like game over.
You're dead either way.
You're dead either way, but like
blood. You use
something stupid in my mind is saying like cutting off leg has higher chance of survival than cutting out liver.
No,
liver has
dying.
so much.
No, it does. It does. It definitely does have higher chance.
Well, true.
When we say higher chance, it's like if
you're doing it yourself, you're dying either way. If you're cutting off your own thumb and don't get medical attention right away, you're probably gonna die from the blood loss. So it's crazy either way. What do you guys make of like the whole? Is it just more stuff about control with like the very beginning of this section where it like has like him watching like the porno he made with like his wife and his like best friend's wife and both I didn't get the relationship with like the best friend and his best friend's wife within their own relationship too. That part confused me.
Do you not think that's also kind of, again, I'm just yapping, but kind of like a fancy thing as well? That kind of intertwines within the story and the whole it's a fancy in that that's his kind of idealistic life in a way. Do you not see that?
Like you don't think
not necessarily. No, I do think they're actually doing it back. I think it kind of goes into, how do I explain it? Like, no, I do think it actually happens, but I also think it kind of fits into that whole expectation and kind of warp of reality slightly. But then again, I do actually think it happens. So I don't know. Maybe it is just a kind of control thing as well, like Tyler was saying. It's a difficult one. Also, there were these guys fucking laughing at that scene behind me, and I turned around.
Peter was laughing at that scene.
No, but just snickering like little fucking. And I turned around and gave him the dirtiest look ever. And I was they were pissing me off the whole time. But yeah, I have no idea. It could be anything. I to be honest, there's still like, and again, I'll come into this later. I think this is I do want to watch this again because there are still many scenes in each one that I'm like scratching my head on. This is one of them. Definitely.
I want to watch it again, but I can't imagine watching it twice within 24 hours like George did. Like this isn't a movie.
Maybe I'll watch him again when it's on streaming. I'll just watch him separately.
I genuinely, when it comes out on streaming, I want to watch it again, but I want to watch one story at a time. Like maybe that'll help out. Stop. 5 days later, second story.
Because like the first, this is what happened. The first one, like when I was watching yesterday or whenever it was, the first one would end. In my head, I'm like grappling with it. I'm like, what does that mean? And then bang, we're into a new story. And it's like, shit, I haven't really had time to sit with that, which is why I don't think it's a very hard thing to get right in general, isn't it? Especially when they're so, heavy hitting in a way that they want to be. So yeah, I'll probably watch them separately next time. I think that'll help out in terms of identifying different areas. Do you want to move on to 3?
Let's move on to 3.
Okay, so quick synopsis of 3 without going into too much detail as of yet. A woman determined to find a specific someone with a special ability who is destined to become a spiritual leader. I think the special ability she's looking to find is to bring people back from the dead. Again, this is kind of what we mentioned earlier with Jesse Plemons. This is like the Emma Stone led one. I won't go into my thoughts yet. Tyler, do you want to kick us off again with your kind of basic thoughts of this one?
Yeah, let's go for it. So this one you have these cult members who are searching for, kind of like George alluded to at the beginning, kind of like this, Messiah type figure who's able to bring people back from the dead. And I believe Emma Stone has this like vision of who it looks like and who it should be, but not like super clear. So, and we also kind of alluded to Hunter Schafer not being in this as much. This is when you first see Hunter Schafer being
5 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah. The first like thought of who the Messiah could be based on her dream, which basically what you kind of gather from seeing her and then ultimately being Margaret Qualley. It's like a, thinner woman, blonde, and it seems like that's pretty much all they really know of who is like this Messiah person.
Like athletic type.
Right. So I think it's like Hunter Schafer, realize it's not Hunter Schafer. So then they're kind of on the search to find someone to bring bring someone back from the dead, and then they ultimately find, Margaret Qualley being the person. Again, thematically, I feel like this one has a lot to do with like destiny, and there's like some blatant spoilers that kind of really hammer home that theme that we'll get to when we talk in the spoiler section. But a lot of this, you're talking about you're serving a cult at this point, trying to accomplish this task of bringing people back from the dead, which is obviously an impossible task unless you're talking about someone who's like heart just stopped a second ago and you do quick CPR. But the way they're doing it is very much not that. It's very much this thing that's not possible. Turn someone back from the dead, which is obviously going against destiny, going against fate, going against what is really possible in this world. And they're trying to mess with fate. They're trying to mess with destiny and trying to take that into their own hands and play God, basically. And we ultimately see what the consequences of that are, which is more in the spoiler section. But again, kind of like I mentioned, the second one, after talking with you guys, because you guys are my genius little gentlemen of friends who helped me clear up
we don't know shit
themes of the second one. You guys,
I don't know anything.
Helped clear me up for that one. But I think the first and third were the ones that like I was able to pull kind of what he was going for there. And I feel like this one had a lot to do with destiny, which again, all of us, like if you had to pick one word for Yorgos' films, it'd be like control, being like the one theme that describes his entire filmography, which is still here, but I think is more on the destiny side of things and trying to avoid what's inevitable and trying to mess with the universe and kind of the consequences of that, which again is kind of similar to like the first one as well, with like Jesse Plemons trying to take over his own life and be like, I'm going to not listen to Willem Dafoe anymore, and then ultimately seeing where that leads him. So I like this one. Again, I think I've done the best of the three of you in terms of not spoiling where my ranking of the three are, because I think we kind of know where you two are.
I haven't said much. Oh wait, no, I tweeted.
Yeah, you tweeted.
Well, yeah, fair
and
enough.
you just quote tweeted it too, like 5 minutes ago.
www.x.com. But I like the third one, but I like the whole movie. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
I liked Emma Stone in the third one, and that's kind of the extent of it.
I liked her driving.
I liked her driving.
Yeah, Carl, crazy by the way.
Yeah, obviously, dude, I would love news to come out where we find out that was actually Emma Stone driving that car. I think that'd be sick. Obviously not her driving the car, but still cool.
What if it was like Anya Taylor-Joy? She was like the driver. That'd be kind of crazy.
I don't know. This is my problem again with watching these three back to back to back. By the time this one came around, I was just the second story ended, and I was like, damn, like that was a long movie. And then you realize you have a whole other story to get through, and you're like, damn, this is a long movie. But this was again this third story. It opens up, and you're introduced to Emma and Jesse and their characters, and they're trying to find this messianic figure, whatever you want to call it. And it's cool. And then you get introduced to like this entire culty side. Like it's obviously not a side plot, because obviously everything Emma and Jesse are doing, it's very calculated. It's very at the hands of Willem Dafoe's character.
He was like a crazy, believable cult leader, by the way.
Yeah, it was like this in their mind, he's the Messiah. But again, like it felt like a subplot, because for the first like 10-15 minutes of this story, all you're doing is following Jesse and Emma as they're trying to find Margaret Qualley's character, which I thought was cool. Again, it was very Black Mirror-ish. It was very like, okay, what's going on? Like, is this person actually able to bring people back from the dead, or is there something like more sinister and supernatural going on? But then it takes like this crazy left turn. You're thrown into this cult, which like, again, I didn't care about any part of this cult. And I've said this, and I will continue to say this as we go through Yorgos' filmography. I don't know. It's like a lot of it is just like grotesque for the sake of being grotesque. Like, I didn't feel like there was a purpose in including like the fact that Willem Dafoe has sex with all these people. Like, I thought that was like, I don't know. It was just weird to me. It was a very interesting side plot to throw in to a story that establishes its characters as being on the hunt for this messianic figure. So a lot of it I was just kind of like checked out for, because like it was just so out there where I found myself struggling to like give a fuck. But again, then once can we put the spoiler tag on? Sorry. Once spoilers, Emma Stone's character is defiled by her ex-husband. He rapes her, and Willem Dafoe kicks her out of the cult. Once she leaves the cult and she's back on this journey to find this Messiah, I checked back in because that's what I cared about. So there was this whole 20-minute period where Emma Stone goes to the cult, has sex with Willem Dafoe, leaves the cult, gets raped by her ex-husband, and then Willem Dafoe kicks her out of the cult because of that. That whole section could have been removed. Then Emma Stone is back and she is introduced to both of Margaret Qualley's characters because she plays twins. And that's where I rechecked in. That's where I was like, okay, this is now cool. Now we're back on this hunt for the Messiah that was the only thing I really cared about. And that was it. That portion of it unfortunately ended quickly. It was cool. It was fun. Emma finds the Messiah. She's dancing to Brand New Bitch, that song, which is great. But I don't know. I keep saying this about all of these stories, but this one for sure just overstayed its welcome like crazy. And again, it's Yorgos ending up in the same place because you're introduced to this cult and you find out that everything Emma is doing is very calculated. It's very, I'm doing all of this to be accepted by Willem Dafoe and this weird cult bullshit he's got going on. So I don't know. This was my least favorite of the three. Sorry to spoil my rankings. I just found myself just less than intrigued with pretty much the entire middle portion of this story.
Yeah. Sorry to spoil. I'm much higher on this one because I think this is kind of like a me one where I think the main thing of this is exploring these belief systems and kind of the toxic influence they can have on people's lives, especially when it comes to family, relationships, connections, and looking at cults as movements. And I think this one is really, really powerful for me. I think it's really, really poignant. I think what I was, alluding to earlier is, we're on spoilers anyway. So, like George said, there's a scene where Emma's kind of battling between this movement as such and belonging and how that can compromise her family life and her daughter with her ex-husband. And obviously, she goes around. He drugs her and rapes her, really. And I think that moment is so devastating. And after that, it's, she's been contaminated at that point, and they do the whole contamination, then she's still contaminated. And I think they kick her out, and then Willem Dafoe's like, you shouldn't let that man defile you. I think that's such a powerful moment to me, in that it's very hit you over the head, but I think it's so important in looking at this and looking at these kind of ways and these kind of lessons and these moral quandaries that Emma Stone's character faces throughout, whether it's belonging to a group or returning to a family, and again finding this kind of messiah figure as well. Margaret Qualley, really liked her. She plays twins. Hated the bit where she cuts the dog with a knife. That bit made me sad. I was like, please don't.
Not really even that bit. The following bit where she was done with the dog and she was like, go, and then rips her jewel. I lost. I was like, that's so fucking funny.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think it's go on.
No, go. I was gonna say it was literally like a random 10-minute scene where it was just a 10-second scene where it was just like, go, rips jewel, next scene. That was it.
I think it's it's just, again, it's very similar to what we spoke about before we did the series. How far will you go in order to be accepted within a society? And that's kind of the whole thing about these kind of organized belief systems and the way that they operate. And I think Willem Dafoe does a really good job of portraying Ang Hong Chow as being those two figures in that society. So I also love the score in this one even more. The score in this one was really ominous, really cool. Mm-hmm. And as George said, the ending is kind of like that really freeing moment. And when I watched the trailer, I was waiting for the dance scene in the story. And, it's like the last scene. Obviously, it's the last scene in the film when the credits come on. I think it's one of the best scenes in the whole three stories. I think it's really fucking good. And I think it stands for a lot. And I think that bit made me feel a way that the other two stories didn't, in a way of rewarding. Because again, just generally, my biggest issue with this at times, and again, obviously I'm more positive than a negative, but my biggest issue with this film, all three stories, sometimes the big moments didn't feel like they were earned as such. It felt like they were kind of out of nowhere and they didn't really have much reward, which again might improve on rewatch, especially if I watch them separately. But yeah, I really like this one. I think this is definitely something that's kind of more to my taste in the way it looks at faith and family, or faith versus family in this extent, and kind of that belief system that it operates under. But yeah, I definitely want to watch them again. Anything else you wanted to cover in the third one?
Yeah, because so you kind of get the cult is like the obvious in your face control narrative, and then you also have like the indirect versions of control with the Joe Alwyn character, with obviously like, you know, he drugs and rapes his ex-wife, but then, you know, he keeps trying to lure her back in by saying like, well, at least come see the kid. At least come see the kid. That's like a way to control
manipulation, which is a very common thing we see just generally.
Mm-hmm.
It's manipulation to do with familial figures, and you can obviously tell. And I said this to Annie yesterday after it came out, that Emma Stone's character has kind of been in this relationship, been this like kind of tug of war with the ex-husband, and you can tell that she really doesn't want to go back, but she's, you know, because of obviously previous history, and as we know with what happens and how he apologizes after, it's probably a common theme that happened in their relationship prior, and she's really, you know, doesn't want to go back, and it's like, daughter's there, you know, at least if you don't want to see me, at least see your daughter, you know. And it's that whole, like you said, sorry to cut you off, like manipulation.
No, yep, no, exactly what I was going for. And then kind of the mentioned, like preluded to before we got in like the spoiler section about, you know, with Destiny and avoiding it with the whole, you know, they find someone who can bring people back from the dead, but then obviously after they have the dance, she has the dance scene, then there's the credits, and then she's obviously driving Margaret Qualley, who now can bring people back from the dead, and of course, you know, crashes the car and kills her, and it's like, you know, she finally found what she was looking for this whole time, and then it's just like immediately kills Margaret Qualley by crashing her and flying her through the windshield and dying. So it's like, you know, finding acceptance, and then she kind of had this cathartic release at the end of the movie where she's like, she kind of had this big emotional moment of feeling like she achieved what she was set out to do, and feeling like she made progress with what she was trying to do. And yeah, you know, they find someone who can bring someone back from the dead finally, and she just ends up dying immediately. So just a very poignant way to end the film. But I like the third one.
And then it ends with the credits with him eating like chips and just ketchup getting all over him and shit like that.
He was eating a sandwich. RMF eats a
Was
sandwich.
he in a, it was a sandwich, wasn't it?
That was the title.
Sandwich, yeah.
The second one was RMF
is flying.
RMF is flying because he flew
yeah.
the helicopter that saved
the
Emma. And then obviously the first one is RMF.
The death of RMF.
The death of RMF.
Because, well, he died.
He died. He for sure died. Yeah.
If those two didn't get him,
so I mean, you know, we've learned from film and TV, if they don't show me the pulse is at 0 and that he's not breathing, RMF might still be kicked.
I don't know.
He took some.
I don't think you get run over by a Range Rover
car
twice. Twice.
I figure we'll like move on to. Again, just general rankings. So I've already spoiled mine. I will say, so mine is 3 first, 1 second, 2 third. But as we've been speaking about it, specifically 2. So like George said, I put in my tweet, there was like a big gap between 1 and 2. I disagree with that now. I think they're all quite close in quality. But yeah, 3, 1, 2 for me, and my total rating is a 3.5 out of 5. Tyler, George, whoever wants to go first.
George, you go.
I think after discussing the 3 with you, fine gentlemen, I think I would go 2, 1, and then 3, all of which are much closer, I think, than like a ranking would imply. And then my overall, listen, I don't know how you give this an overall rating. I feel like it's just dumb, but I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, so overall movie 3.5 out of 5 for me. Anthologies are so hard to rank, especially when they're in a movie like this, because I go 3, 2, 1 as my ranking, but there's 2 issues with ranking anthologies that are in a movie together where you're watching back to back to back, as opposed to like Black Mirror, where you can watch, you know, an episode, take a break. Is, you know, obviously I went 3, 2, 1, so that means the most recent one I saw is number 1. Then the second so it's like, is there just recency bias, or do you remember it more because it goes 1, 2, 3, and I don't remember 1 as much because 2 and 3 hit. And then secondly,
that's why talking about it helps, so doesn't it?
Right,
like, that's
exactly.
why podcast helps.
Yeah, that's why 2 probably would have been lowest if we're talking about it. Talking about it helps, but then also 3 was the only one I felt like was long and dragging. But like, was that just because this is the 3rd anthology and we're getting farther? Like, if I watch them separately, would I feel that way? So that's why it's like so hard.
I don't know, because for me it was 1 quite a drag at the end. I didn't feel that from 3. So maybe it isn't, but I see what you mean, because it's like if you've been watching two of the same, and they're quite hard hitting, like in the way that you have to, you know, they're thinkers, generally speaking. I think going through all three, it's like if three is, you know, at the bottom, was like, of course that's gonna be the one that drags mostly, because you've been sat there for 2 hour, you know, half 2.5 hours at that point, whatever.
But yeah, I go 3, 2, 1. All like George said, the ranking is so arbitrary because there's just simply barely anything at all separating these three for me. But 3.5 overall. Weird one. I want to revisit it. I want to revisit it separately for each three of them. But I genuinely enjoyed this movie, which like a 3.5 might not sound like as much as, you know, like a 4 obviously would. But yeah, like I was never really bored. I said the third one kind of felt like it was dragging, but definitely wasn't bored. So I enjoyed the movie.
Again, and I want to make sure everyone listening understands that I was never bored. Boredom was not my problem. My problem, again, was Yorgos just ending up in the same spot every single time. And honestly, I was hoping this conversation would like open my mind to maybe something I missed, but it seems like the three of us are fairly in line with how we're kind of like analyzing this commentary that Yorgos is trying to give us.
The comedy though in this movie definitely worked throughout the
dude. It did work.
Every moment that happened, I was like that. The jewel scene you talked about, so funny, like,
hysterical. The jewel scene, the fucking the scene where Jesse Plemons is like playing with this like guy he arrested, like hair. It's funny. Even like the first, like my theater lost their mind where when Willem Dafoe told Jesse Plemons like, skinny men are like the worst thing in the world, or whatever he fucking said. No, we heard you, Cam.
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. So yeah, like it was funny. It was funny as fuck. It really was. My problem was not boredom. It was not like my disdain towards the comedy or the characters. It was just, I think releasing this as a back-to-back 2 hour and 45-minute anthology where each story ends up in the same place. That's an interesting decision to me. That's an interesting decision to make.
Yeah, it's interesting because the two movies I watched back to back at the theater were Horizon and this. So it was like 2 3-hour movies, but
that's
Horizon,
a crazy double feature.
But it's weird because like Horizon's like 3 episodes of a TV show. Like that's just simply what it is. Like it's a TV show that he's releasing as a movie. And then Kinds of Kindness is 3 different separate stories and anthologies. So it's like I watched like 6 things basically in 2 movies because it's like 3 episodes of TV and then 3 anthologies that are all separate narratively. So it's like, yeah, kind of just all over the place. But I didn't mention Horizon when I was watching. I watched that before this. I liked it. It's so clearly a TV show made for, like, I feel like there has to be some sort of contract Kevin Costner has with Yellowstone where it's like, you're not allowed to make another Western TV show because you have like a non-compete, but like him making a movie was like his workaround. But visually stunning. If you don't like Westerns, don't step foot in the theater, ever watch it. Cause it's a West, like it's as pure Western as you're going to get, just classic frontiersman conflicting with other frontiersmen. You have like the sheriff-like character who comes in to clean up the bad ruffians, and you have kind of the big bads. One of them is played by the guy who played Vecna in Stranger Things, and he's just not that great of an actor. But that's the problem with the whole movie, is that there's such a wide range of performances of quality. Luke Wilson, love him. He needs to be more Westerns. I could watch him be a cowboy 24/7. I think him and like Matthew McConaughey, or not McConaughey, Owen Wilson. I don't know why I got those two mixed up. Like I feel like they just have natural, just cowboy-esque like features and draws to their accent. But Kevin Costner's fine, whatever. I liked him directing more than I liked him acting in this. But if you like Westerns, you're probably gonna like it. If you like Yellowstone and all those shows, you're probably gonna like it. I give it a 3-star, but it's like impossible to judge because it's hard enough when you watch a part 1 of a 2-part movie to like judge the narrative. But this is part 1 of a 4-part series. So like it's all exposition. It's like you're watching a 12-episode season of TV and you saw the first 3 episodes and you're supposed to say, is the story good? Like, I don't know. We don't really know where anything's going. Kevin Costner didn't come in until like an hour into the movie as kind of like the new guy in town. There's obviously the typical love interests, and the production's incredible. Cinematography is great. Looks beautiful. But it's like a 3-star, but like, I don't know, like I'll have to re-rate it after I see all 4 parts. Cause like, how can you really tell how good a story is from the intro 25% of it? So yeah, Horizon, go listen to Looks Like a Movie podcast. I know they're probably going to talk about it for like an hour and a half or something. So if you want like more deeper talk about Horizon and American Saga, go watch it. Theaters are packed for this. This is going to be all time like box office surprise, simply because I feel like box office forecasts always use like pre-sales, but like the people going to see Horizon aren't the type to buy their tickets online. They're the rare type that goes to the theater and like goes to the window and be like, I'd like a ticket for this movie, please. And, like, have to buy it. Like the type of people that just don't exist anymore. So this is gonna be one like, wow, we only expected like 10 people to see his movie, but millions are showing up because like they're all just showing up to Horizon American Saga. But yeah, theater's packed. So it was packed for Kinds of Kindness too, honestly, but two very different crowds. I was trying to buy time until Seth came back to start the Yorgos filmography run through, but
he won't be back for like 10 minutes, I think.
Oh, he texted that? Okay. Oh, yeah. I remember him saying something about that, but we can dive into this. So I don't think any of us have seen My Best Friend or Kaneda. Is that correct? That's the first two films in his filmography. And Dogtooth is one we definitely want to wait for Seth to come back for to talk. Unfortunately didn't get a chance to see it. So it's gonna be you two going head to head, but I will talk about the two shorts I saw because we mentioned it, one of them briefly in the review of Kinds of Kindness, but just to buy time before Seth gets back he has multiple short films, but there's two that are publicly accessible for everyone to see. One that came in 2013, which is Necktie, which is about 90 seconds long. You could probably pull it up and watch it on your phone by the time I'm done talking about this. It is on Letterboxd. I would never watch anything that's not on Letterboxd.
Yeah,
don't call me a fool. Necktie.
What's it called?
It's on YouTube. I believe that's where I saw it. Necktie. Yeah.
Watching
basically right the synopsis, and by the time I'm done with the synopsis, you'll probably finish it. 5 teens try to discover what happens when you die. My review, which you'll kind of find apparent when you watch this 90-second short. If you're listening to this on YouTube, just pull open another tab. My review is just, and they say kids don't play outside anymore these days. So 90 seconds, you're not going to pull much from it. Pretty much like, again, can you spoil a 90-second short? But at this point, you should have been able to see the whole thing. It's like kids basically go outside and play with the gun. They basically have a duel, and then one of them dies, and that's the short. So
thanks for the spoiler, man. I'm only 30 seconds in right now.
Well, I'm sorry. Well, you're about to see a kid die. And then he has another short, Nimic, which is a more natural, tried and true short film, which is 12 minutes long, has Matt Dillon in it, which what has he been in? Because when he's like obviously a guy, I'm like, I've seen him in so many. He's in Asteroid City, he's in The House That Jack Built, Crash, The Outsiders, Rumblefish, Herbie Fully Loaded. So he's in a lot of stuff.
Kind of goated.
But this is what I kind of mentioned, the first third of Kinds of Kindness, like the first part of that anthology reminded me of this Nimic short, which is this guy who's a cellist goes on a subway and asks someone what time it is or what the weather is. And then that's kind of like a keyword that all of a sudden, once he says that to them, they start like following him and trying to take over his life. And then later someone says the same keyword, like what time is it or what the weather is to them. And it's just, I found a lot of it to be like commentary on our lives being a lot more replaceable than we think they are. Cause you basically like, the other person just ends up taking over the other person's life. And when you're just waking up, going to work, going home, cooking dinner, watching a TV show with your wife and going to bed, like it's kind of just the conformity of individuals where we're all like, there's not much difference between a lot of our mundane lives and how, when you live just such a routine, mundane life, it's just, I think the TV show Severance like takes this whole idea and just runs with it, where it's like, you kind of just go through the motions and you're all just plug and play going through your life and not really living it. And there's another short with Emma Stone. So they obviously are like, those two are like going to collaborate for every movie ever for the rest of eternity. But that short film is like impossible to see. Basically, from what I found is you have to watch it with a live orchestra. Like that's the only way they show this short film that them two worked on together. The title is Bleat from 2022. And it is 30 minutes long and it's with Damian Brainerd and Emma Stone. And that's like, yeah, the only way you can see this thing is if you find it in person on a tour with a live orchestra. So it's not anywhere you can publicly see it. But he's directed a total of 9 films, feature films. First 4 being Greek films with My Best Friend, Kaneda, Dogtooth, and Alps. And I believe the only Greek film any of us have seen of his is Dogtooth, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think Seth has seen any of the other 3. But yeah, George, at this point, you want to get into your review on Dogtooth and hopefully Seth gets back to give his side of the thing? Or should we jump to Lobster and just kind of go in reverse order? You could go Lobster and then jump back to it.
Yeah, I could wait on Dogtooth for Seth because I do want to go back and forth with him. Also, I just watched Necktie. That was weird. I didn't like that.
I watched it as well. Oh, sad.
Yeah. Oh, no, perfect timing. I was about to poop on Dogtooth.
Is it Dogtooth time?
It's
I
Dogtooth.
was filibustering like I'm a freaking Washington D.C. senator for the past 10
I
minutes.
think I'm going to just give every short film I watch a 50 out of 100 because I'm not smart.
I don't rate them, especially Necktie.
Don't
Dude,
rate
Neckties-
them.
I have to rate them and I have to review them just to keep my numbers on Letterboxd.
I didn't.
Like
I didn't
every
rate
movie
Necktie.
every movie has a rating, so I have to.
That's fair.
My review for Necktie was kids used to play with Game Boys and skateboards. Now they play God.
I put hell
Yeah,
yeah.
that's kind of like gif of like writing on a piece of paper with it on fire. It's kind of you're kind of sitting there. But yeah,
Thanks.
just
Appreciate
time
that.
for Dogtooth.
Shit.
Who wants to go first?
Well, George and you are the only two who have seen it. Unfortunately, I was.
All right, I'll go first. All right. Yeah, I watched Dogtooth yesterday for the first time, and I very much did not enjoy it. I wrote in my
Which, by the way,
Here we
is
go.
fair. No,
What's fair? Wait, what's fair?
you didn't enjoy it. I was backing you up. I was trying to.
That I didn't
I was
enjoy
saying-
it?
No, I was saying that this isn't this. That is fair. That you didn't enjoy it. That's what I mean.
Oh yeah,
It's like
I mean,
it's a
listen,
film that
I even tweeted this. As I've been running through Yorgos's filmography, and trust me, I don't want to be saying this, but it's just how I feel. I don't love him as much as I once thought I loved him. I think my biggest problem with him is exactly what I said for Kinds of Kindness. I think a lot of his movies are best watched on first watch when you are kind of being taken along this very unpredictable, this journey with some sinister undertone, and it makes it very cool. Then on rewatch, you're kind of like, it's very paper thin, and this commentary that Yorgos is trying to translate to his audience is just simply not as complex and intelligent as one might be led to believe. That, unfortunately, is not even my problem with Dogtooth. My problem with Dogtooth is, and you could say this about most Yorgos films, but I think it's like especially true for Dogtooth. This is fucked up for the sake of being fucked up. Like, I was watching this movie and I was genuinely like, how did people watch this movie in 2009 and let Yorgos make more films? Like, this is a genuinely like questionable movie to make. Like, I would seriously love like psychiatrists to have taken a look at Yorgos after he made this movie. This is a fucked up movie, and it's not fucked up in like a horror sense where it's like where you're gonna watch people be decapitated and shit and bullshit like that. It's just like, from a narrative standpoint, there are so many like character choices that we watch unfold that it made me uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable, not in like I don't know, not in like a horror movie uncomfortable way, because I always preach on this podcast. I love when movies can make me like, yeah, like I love when movies make me feel uncomfortable. I truly do. This one felt like this one really got under my skin, and like not in a good way. Like, I felt weird watching it. Like, it felt like something I should not have been watching. And then obviously I know this is where we're going to probably disagree the most. I said in my Letterboxd review, this movie is just, its social and political commentary is very shallow. It's very shitty for a lack of a non-intellectual word. I've reconsidered that statement. The social commentary, weak, shitty. The political commentary, non-existent. It's not there. And Seth and I were texting back and forth a little bit yesterday about the political commentary, and I was listening to him and I was doing like my due diligence and I was reading up a lot about this movie. Political commentary is not there. The commentary in this movie is it's entirely social. It's about shitty families. It's about dominating. It's about domination. It's about manipulation. It's about growing up in an isolated environment, and that didn't work for me. Let me make it clear. I understand the commentary is there. It did not work for me. I don't know.
Have you read any of Yorgos' interviews on this?
No, I was not reading anything Yorgos related. I didn't. I wanted to hear other people.
Just because he has actually done some interviews, and it's like,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. Obviously, I disagree, but it's not good. It's so I said this on text yesterday, and people who've seen it, obviously, I know you haven't seen it, will kind of get my comparison. It's very similar to like a Salo 120 Days of Sodom, which essentially is a film that is, well, much more fucked up in this, but in its context, in my opinion, is related to right-wing measures and fascism, which is kind of what I relate to with this. And I think you're right. I think it's more so social commentary on exploitative natures and kind of not letting the outside in a way of parenthood and kind of hyper protective parenthood in a way. But for me, this is on kind of right wing measures, and this is on protecting one's own kind, and kind of that's what you see throughout. But I also would say at the same time, there again, I will have to push up. I haven't seen it since it was like October. There are scenes in this that are disturbing, of a very disturbing nature, of course, and I think that's the same with like a Salo. Whereas Salo was an Italian film based on kind of the era of Mussolini, I believe, I'm not mistaken, where you're seeing a lot of horrible stuff, and that's like next level compared to this. And it is an indicator of that. Now, is that to say that everyone's going to see that same way? No, because I think this is a very hard film to judge in a sense. I think it's hard to pull it from if you don't. The thing is, I wouldn't say that to you because I think there's a difference. I wouldn't say that you don't understand it. I'd say you have your own understanding of it. Do you know what I mean? And I'd say that it's a different measure. Whereas I perceive this to be like a right-wing authoritarian thing where that's the reason they're kind of keeping the kids in. And that's the reason there's the other shit, because it's kind of keeping one's own kind together. Now, again, it's not something I'm going to defend massively because it's very much like Salo, where I think Salo is like an average film, but I can see why people would give it a 5. I can also see why people give it a half star because the context in it is bad. And I think it's hard to decipher a lot of the time. But for me, that's kind of the gist of what I get from the film.
See, I don't necessarily disagree like entirely. You said right-wing authoritarian. Half of that statement is true. The authoritarian part. It's very obviously you think authoritarian, your mind goes straight to government, but that's a very blanket statement where authoritarian also means just like shitty parents just being manipulating and shitty. Whereas like I again, and this is like you said, everyone has their own interpretation. I didn't get that right-wing political authoritarian interpretation from this movie the way you are. Like for me, it's for sure authoritarian. That's not even a question. But for me, it's more social than political.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, this is going to be like a case where someone's going to be like, actually, you know. So the way I kind of look at this and what I've read about in interviews, and again, I might be wrong, and it's down to interpretation. I think that so Greece has had in history like a authoritarian right-wing military control. Correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, you'll know more than I do.
You're absolutely right.
Especially in that era, and the way I turned down to, and I believe, again, don't quote us, I believe I read this in a Yorgos interview, or maybe it was in someone else's interview, that was kind of an indicator of it, and it's very similar. And this is why I make the comparison to Salo, and obviously I know you haven't seen it, because they use kids and military. I mean, it's military. They are military, but military-like figures, authoritarian figures, and that's where I kind of view it as an allegory for fascism, because the fascist approach in general, that's the kind of authoritarian approach, is very similar. It's like staying to one's own kind, if that makes sense. And that's why you see they're not like over loud out. And obviously you see the scenes with incest and whatever, which is fucked up. And it's like keeping one's own, keeping one's own skin, keeping one's own, because they don't want outsiders. That's kind of the way I view it. And, those sequences specifically, why they're not allowed out is to mix, essentially. Where, as we know, mixing is from a right-wing standpoint rather than just an authoritarian one, if you know what I mean.
Which I get. I think also a big part is, and I mean, you tell me if you disagree with this. I think when it comes to the commentary Yorgos tries to like display in his movies to his audience, it's very on the nose. It's very like I don't think any Yorgos film is as like complex and intellectual as he wants you to believe. So my reason for not thinking Dogtooth has like real political commentary is because the two of us have to really dig to find that commentary. It's not as on the nose as like his social commentary and Kinds of Kindness, or his his mythos in his killing of a sacred deer. It's not on the nose. It's not very like, it's not right there for us to pick up on. So like, it just feels like if Yorgos wanted Dogtooth to be this political commentary motivated movie, it would have been just a lot more in your face. Whereas, like I texted you yesterday, I feel like we're grasping at straws trying to, pick why this commentary is political as opposed to social.
I guess so. For me, it's like comes out to like the location and time period as well.
Yeah.
Like the small kind of industrial town, 1960s.
I think it's a me problem. I don't think I'm giving Yorgos enough credit just because of his other films. I don't think I'm giving him like, yeah, I don't know.
I do think Yorgos is a very like, and I think we said this on the Kindness review, that it's very on the nose and very hits you over the head, and that can work or doesn't. I think some directors it works, some doesn't, and it's the same with Yorgos as well. Whereas blanket statement, this does look authoritarian, but for me, it's just the setting, the location, and the ways in which they are controlled would lead me to believe. But again, this might be not what he was aiming towards, and it could be what I'm seeing because that's my belief system. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm not like sitting here losing my mind. Like, I understand your POV. I just don't share that POV. Like, for me,
did you watch it, Tyler? Oh, okay.
No, this is like this is gonna be such a funny comparison. I can't wait for you guys to hear this. Dogtooth in Yorgos's filmography is Melissa P in Luca Guadagnino's filmography, where it's.
I don't think that's that bad a comparison.
Why did I think it was the Challengers?
No, not that bad. It's not. Challengers way better than Dogtooth. But this, like, where Melissa P in Luca's filmography, it feels like Luca's just being sick for the sake of being sick with very shallow social commentary, which is exactly how I feel about Dogtooth. And I gave Melissa P a half a star too.
I think that commentary wise is, I mean, obviously I think is better, but I also think that the reason why something like Melissa P is worse, that feels like a TV film almost. Yeah. I think Dogtooth feels like it's from a director who's within his own mind and kind of he already has his style kind of set out. It's very minimalist. It's very kind of it's incredibly bleak across the board, and I think with Luca it's like that was kind of early on when he hadn't really found himself as a creative mind yet.
Man, I was trying so hard the entire movie. I'm like, there's no way I'm watching, like, I don't watch a lot of Greek movies to begin with, so I was like, there's no way I'm about to give one of the few Greek films I watch a half a star. So I was. Did
you watch it without subtitles?
Yeah, of course.
Are you sure you weren't translating it incorrectly then?
Actually, I promise you, I was not. That's disrespectful.
Can you speak fluent Greek then? Like fully?
Yes, I've lost it a bit, but yes.
Okay, fine.
That's a disrespectful question.
Fair. So for me,
lost it.
George 4.5. But yeah, no, I get it. It's 3.5 for me. Again, I haven't seen this since like October, so who knows? But it's not my favorite Yorgos by any means. But yeah, Tyler, I'll be intrigued to see where you.
I will also be intrigued.
Yeah.
Ideally, I have it watched before this episode comes up, but this coming on a Saturday just crunched my time a little bit. But for those interested, like, total side note, I'll also have A Quiet Place watched before when this episode comes up too. So I know it wasn't part of that review, but if you want to see my thoughts on that'll be on Letterboxd as well. But yeah, I'm excited now.
I've actually seen, by the way, I don't know if you guys already covered it. I've seen his like debut.
Review. Oh yeah, no, I didn't know if anyone saw it. So my best friend.
No, it's his debut. Sorry, the one after
Canada.
Yeah,
go for it. Yeah, definitely.
It's terrible. It's like 3 different sections and it doesn't work and it looks amateurish and you can't tell what's happening.
I know IMDb sucks, but like a 4.7 is really bad.
No, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's really bad. Yeah. That's it.
Alps comes after Dogtooth, but then we get into English language films.
Yeah, I didn't see Alps.
Mm-hmm. So The Lobster. Have we all seen The Lobster?
Yes, I watched it this week.
Nice. Look at us. I feel like we haven't heard from Cam in a while. Cam, The Lobster.
The Lobster.
I'm just before camp starts, I'm gonna sit The Lobster out because I didn't get around to rewatching it, and it's been way too long.
I haven't rewatched it.
I'll tell the synopsis quick. So, in a dystopian near future, single people, according to the laws of the city, are taken to the hotel where they are obliged to find a romantic partner in 45 days, or are transformed into beasts and sent off into the woods. Beasts meaning just like they show up and they have to pick an animal, And if they don't find a romantic partner within that 45 days, they are turned into that animal, hence the name, the lobster. It's been a while since I've seen it. I know there was some reason he chose a lobster, but a lot of people naturally choose like dogs and sheep and other cows, random stuff. But yeah, Cam, thoughts?
I like The Lobster. The Lobster is a movie I watched in college with a group of friends, and it's funny. It's like the weirdest movie they've ever seen, and that's like they talk about it a fair amount as like the most odd movie they've ever seen, and just how weird it is just kind of funny. And at the time, it probably was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It's an interesting look into like relationships and how we give ourselves like. We restrict ourselves to trying to get married by this age or whatever it is, or you want to be in a relationship by this age. And obviously way overplays on that, given that you turn into an animal of some sort. But just how we kind of box ourselves into like only idealizing people as like needing to be with a partner and different things like that. This is my favorite of Yorgos. I have not seen
Spoiler for your rankings.
I haven't seen most of his. Like I've only seen his English films, to be honest.
Which is most of his, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like other than Kinds of Kindness, like 4 or 5 of them. I haven't seen The Killing of the Sacred Deer, but other than that, like The Favorite and Poor Things. So only 3. So that's where we're at. But yeah, I like this movie a lot, and it's definitely an interesting watch. And like what I've seen of Yorgos is he's very, very stylistic, and I feel like this is his least stylistic that I've seen, but it still like really works. And it's probably his funniest, I think, as well. Shout out Colin Farrell. I think he's absolutely hilarious in The Lobster. Just kind of a depressed man, and now coming off like Banshees and in Bruges, I feel like he's just very good at playing a depressed guy. So shout out him. But yeah, I don't have too much to say on The Lobster because it has been a while since I've seen it. But I remember really enjoying it.
Cool. Do you want me to go next, Tal?
Go for it.
Yeah, so I watched Lobster this week for the first time, so I'm kind of like fresh on it, whatever. I really liked it. I think it's great. I think, again, we brought this up about a million times on Kinds of Kindness. Conformity, power control, just the most cynical man in the film industry right now, and I kind of love him for it in a way. But I think this is kind of, I think I mentioned this on my review as well. I think one of my favorite things about Yorgos as a filmmaker is how much he's able to get out of his actors, and I think that's especially evident in this, in where it's very deadpan, overly silly, mannerisms, but kind of these really hard-hitting, miserable moments as well, especially from Colin Farrell and others in it, and they all manage to like provoke a different feeling, which is my main thing. I think this is, again, it's similar to what George was saying, what we touched on before. It's very the theme of conformity in this very hit you over the head, but I think that works. And I think there's something in the film industry right now, and I'm probably guilty of it in the past as well, whereas we think everything that's spoon-fed is a negative, whereas I don't think so. I think they can work. I think, again, just a perfect example of where something works like that is Black Klansman, which I think you've both seen. I think Black Klansman is a really, really great film.
Yeah,
I think it's the most spoon-fed film ever, potentially that's good. Mm-hmm. But it's not a negative. I think it works in its favor. And I think
Get Out, another one. I feel like the message is heavy-handed, but
Out is massively heavy-handed, but it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a conversation where I think people
to be popular though, like in a broad scale. Like I feel like Black Klansman maybe not as much as Get Out. Get Out's a very mainstream, like everyone knows it, and I think to be popular, you need to spoon feed audiences.
No, but that's not what I mean though. I just mean like,
no, I'm just saying I think that's how they get big. Like,
but I don't even like, I just think generally speaking, we always think about spoon-fed as like this massive negative, and I'm definitely guilty of myself, whereas I think it works. I think it's tough if you want to be in people's faces, like a Black Klansman, like Get Out, perfect example. Mm-hmm. I think it works. I don't think it's always a negative. I think that's the same in this one and in many of Yorgos' films. But I really like this. I love Colin Farrell. I think he's great. More Olivia Colman's always a plus as well, which I'm sure obviously we'll go into more of that when we get to The Favorite. But yeah, really, really great, and a 4-star from me. I think is really good. Very, very minimalist, as Cam was saying as well. Like, yeah, very minimalist.
The cast he was able to assemble for his first English language film is very impressive because obviously you have like
I didn't know
Colin
Leah
Farrell,
Seydoux. Yeah, I didn't know Leah Seydoux. was in
Olivia
that.
Colman,
Yeah,
Rachel Weisz, John C.
John C. Riley. Yeah, he came
I
out of
forgot
nowhere.
John C. Riley. Was in
He's
it.
so funny in this as
He
well.
is.
Ben
He's
Whishaw
so
also, but this is like early Ben Whishaw who's
I love
turned into
Ben. I
more of
love
a
Ben Whishaw. I think he's really good. I think he's
more
really,
in a,
really
not like indie film, but he's like a niche film darling. I'd say like he's not in
Yeah,
big
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
He's in a lot of great stuff.
All I know is him from
Paddington.
007. No, I haven't seen the Paddingtons.
I haven't seen the Paddingtons either.
But yeah, Yorgos is able to get such great things out of his actors, and it's funny because I feel like he's almost been in a search for his muse because he's had a couple movies with Colin Farrell, had a couple of Rachel Weisz, had a couple with Olivia Colman, and it feels like he finally found it with Emma Stone. He's like, I finally found something I could sink my teeth into and play with for the next, I don't know. It seems like they're going to be working together the next like 30 years at this point. But this is like back when I was first starting to like log more movies, I was trying to like go through like A24's catalog of like different films they've distributed, and this was like one of the first ones I saw. And I kept getting this before I saw it confused with Tusk. So I was like waiting the whole time for like someone to be turned into a walrus. Because ultimately
that's a bad film. That's a silly film.
I don't know what the budget is for this. I'm sure it's like decent just because like the cast in it, but like you never really see people transform into animals.
No.
I think it's a smart move because then it would just get into completely ridiculous.
$4 million budget.
Yeah, that's super
That's
tight.
insane.
But then,
Yeah.
but like
that's
the fact that,
with a cast like this as well, that's really tough. That's really.
But with, yeah, I think I was just like thinking in my because like, oh, there's an A24 movie or something like turns into like a walrus. So I was like the Lobster, maybe like, and then when the movie starts, obviously they talk about like if you don't find a partner, you're turning into an animal. So it's like, oh shit, like walrus is coming, man. Very happy that's not the movie turned out to be. But I love Colin Farrell.
Have you seen Tusk?
So good. I have not, but I'll see it eventually just because I really like Justin Long. That's him, right?
He's the only
he's the
only
really
good
bad.
thing about it. Yeah.
Johnny
Depp's in it a bit as well. Weird. Really, really weird.
Lobster's a cool film. I like it a lot. It's been a good while since I've seen it, and it's funny because when you look like time is such an interesting thing in the film sphere because I watched it January 13th, 2023, so a year and a half ago, which to a normal person who watches 15 movies a year, you might be like, oh, that wasn't that long ago, but like to us, it's like 700 movies ago or something. Like that's a long time. Like that's hard for me to remember much about it, but I liked it. I definitely want to rewatch it because I remember
Do you think this is his most famous movie?
Poor Things.
Poor Things, I guess, is now.
I even think maybe based on Oscars and stuff, the favorite is probably more famous than this, definitely.
Yeah, it's tough to tell. And I feel like this and Sacred Deer are pretty much on the same.
Just based on like Emma Stone, Oscar win, and Oscar nominations.
But
did this get any Oscars? I don't know. Maybe?
No, the favorite was the first one that he was getting Oscar attention for. But yeah, so definitely a weird film. Like even though like you kind of like made a joke about like your friends, saw this and be like, oh, there's the weirdest film I've ever seen. Like obviously we've probably all seen way more movies than your friends, but like still definitely like a weird film and a weird premise. I think is executed in a really interesting way. But I like The Lobster. It's I have it like a 3.5, but could probably be like a 4. I don't know. We'll talk about it more when we get to our rankings. But Yorgos is like if you like plotted his ratings on a chart for me, like they're all so neck and neck. Like there's not much differentiating any of these. So my ranking is just kind of chewing up numbers and spitting it out. And it's like it's going to be the most meaningless ranking I'm ever going to give a director's filmography because like I don't know, man. Any of these could be anywhere. But that's kind of all I have for The Lobster.
Good movie for sure.
Killing of a Sacred Deer, the spaghetti clip of
I will just sit here and listen to you guys because I really like this film. I've seen it a couple of times, but I haven't seen it in honestly 3 years, so it's been probably a while for me. I do really like
I feel
it.
Like this is the one I've seen like George recommend on TikTok like 10 times back in the day.
But then he rewatched it. He doesn't like it. George, you go first.
You really not.
It was fine. Yeah, I've definitely recommended this on TikTok several times with like my like.
I almost watched it.
Here are fucked up movies you should watch, like shit like that.
Yeah.
No, God, listen, I think I've said this like 4 times on this podcast alone. It's just Yorgos movies are so much better on first watch because on rewatch, I think you kind of realize that they're paper thin. There's not much more to it. It's like I said, it's a mile wide and an inch deep. And once you're at that inch, you're not going any further, unfortunately. Like this movie is definitely successful in making me feel uncomfortable in a good way. Dogtooth made me uncomfortable in a bad way. This movie makes me uncomfortable in a great way. Barry is putting on his best performance, and I think he's like truly mesmerizing in this movie. I think he takes you on this very unpredictable, very sinister journey where you're expecting like these twists and these turns to come, and Barry does such a good job at keeping you locked in. But outside of that, I think on rewatch, the movie just wasn't necessarily as impactful as I would have liked it to be. I think this is another Yorgos project that just kind of overstays its welcome. I said this in my Letterboxd review. The Greek story of Iphigenia is not, it's not very dense. It's not like this very complex story compared to like Hercules and the 12 laborers, or even Prometheus and the theft of fire. Like this story just isn't as dense and as complex as you would really expect it to be. So I don't necessarily think it warranted a 2-hour runtime, but I think Yorgos does the best he can to kind of keep you locked in just with the environment he's placing you in. Because obviously, if you're not familiar with this story, then this first watch is probably crazy, which it was for me as well when I first watched it back when it came out. But on rewatch, then you realize it's very like, and we've been saying this a lot about Yorgos throughout this entire episode, it's just very on the nose. Once you understand like this story's origin, where it kind of falls in Greek mythology, it becomes very like shallow. Not shallow. Shallow is the wrong word. A couple of his other movies are shallow. This one is not shallow. This is just, I don't know. It's just not as complex as Yorgos wants you to believe it is. And on rewatch, I think you kind of like truly realize that.
I didn't know this was based on like a Greek mythology story, but now that you say that, it's like narratively it just makes so much sense. That this is like a fable of, someone kills someone close to someone else, and it's like you have to choose one of your someone to even the bargain and kill someone on your side, otherwise everyone's going to be taken down. So it's like, the classic there's billions of spins on that kind of fable. There's like obviously the famous trolley problem, where it's like, do you kill one person with your own intent to save 10 people that would have been dying if you don't interfere, which is basically what he's doing. He's like, he has to purposely kill someone, otherwise they're all going to die without him doing anything, because there's a sickness that gets spread over them by Barry Keoghan. He's so good in this, man. Like, he's so creepy and just gets under your skin. And I hope that the Hollywoodification and the Sabrina Carpenter-ification of him isn't going to start making him do safer, more boring roles, because I love him in this. Like, I mean, he's still like a weird little freaky dude, and like Saltburn and like Joker, but they're not like the movie Joker, obviously, but in the Batman. But this is like peak Barry Keoghan. Like, he's so good in this, and the spaghetti clip is obviously incredible. But the final scene, and at this point, like, just skip ahead to the next movie, because like when we're talking these individual movies, we're not going to go like spoilers or non-spoilers. But the final scene of him spinning in circles, like over and over and over again, just shooting his shotgun, trying to kill one of his kids or wife. Like, that was just like seared in my head. I was like, damn, this is like crazy imagery. And it was like so silent during it. All you just hear is like the tippy tap of his footsteps, just as he's like spinning in circles. Just crazy. And like, I feel like if you had to randomly shoot someone, there's such an easier way to do it, because like, obviously, like probably like 5% of his overall turn radius is going to be filled up with the body of someone he's going to shoot. And there's 95% chance he's going to miss. It's gotta be an easier way than that, but it made for a crazy visual.
And this is a weird opinion to give, but it feels right. I watched obviously Poor Things, and then the next Yorgos film I watched was The Favorite, and then I watched Dogtooth, which, even though I didn't like Dogtooth, I think that movie looks decent. Sacred Deer feels like creatively, and I don't want to say his laziest project, but I feel like there was nothing special about like the way he's working the camera, the way he's like moving with his characters, where like obviously The Favorite is just glowing 18th century production design. Poor Things is this visual feast. Dogtooth is this very like isolated, enclosed environment, and the way Yorgos is working the character makes you feel very uncomfortable. Whereas then I watched Sacred Deer and I was like, for Yorgos, this feels very safe. Like, this feels very safe for Yorgos. Let me make that clear.
Interestingly, this is when he switched his cinematographer after this, I think.
Yeah.
After this
you're
film,
correct. Every single one was with another Greek that George is slandering, Timios Bakatakis. But yeah, maybe Yorgos saw this. He's like, this looks shit. I'm switching cinematographers and ditching him, and he's picked up Robbie Ryan now.
But then I think the Lobster looks really good. Like, I think the Lobster looks better.
I know. I was just making a joke. I think the movie's like
no, but I just mean I think Lobster looks like better.
Oh yeah, it makes sense. And again, compared to like The Favorite and especially Poor Things, like I don't think any of the cinematography, these ones we've talked about so far, like are on par with his later works. Kinds of Kindness, like there isn't much crazy going on, but it's not really a film that really merits the need for it.
So next up we have The Favorite, which have you all watched The Favorite? I think we have, haven't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cam, I'll go to you first. Haven't heard you in a while.
Yeah, I put it in my review. I did this movie a disservice watching it at work. I had the time to watch it, and it was like I texted you guys, an now or never thing. If I was going to watch it, it was gonna have to be then because I didn't have any time last night. And so I wasn't like fully locked in, and I don't think the story kept me locked in well enough. Obviously, I think Olivia Colman won the Oscar, but I think Rachel Weisz was the standout of this movie. I think Emma Stone was good. Probably my least favorite of hers with Yorgos, but that's her, and that's that, and Poor Things. So I guess I can't compare too much. And then I like Nicholas Hoult. I thought that he was funny to see with a big ass wig. I didn't know he was in the movie, to be completely honest. So when he popped up, I'm like, oh, what the fuck's Nicholas Hoult doing here? But yeah, just obviously like a story of lust and power. And I enjoyed it for the most part, but I didn't love it. And I just felt like I wasn't super captivated by it. It looks beautiful, but I also put in my review, I think period pieces are like system movies where you can just pump them out and make them look beautiful because all you got to do is
haven't seen enough period pieces.
That's probably true.
Terrible ones. There are some bad ones.
All you got to do is make it look super old timey with everyone in wigs, and I'm like, shit, this looks awesome. But there are like shots where he's got like the fisheye cam of them walking through the hallways, and you can see like the entire stretch of the hallway, and they're just walking through, and like, that's cool. That's fun. But yeah, I just didn't love it, but I liked it, I would say.
Cool. Tyler?
Yeah, this might have been the second Yorgos I'd ever seen, I believe. So like at this point, I'd only seen The Lobster when I went into this about a year ago. And yeah, Olivia Colman obviously won the Oscar, and I love Olivia Colman dearly. I know, Seth, you really think highly of her as well, and think she's great. But I agree with Cam. I was like kind of surprised when I actually watched this because obviously she won the Oscar in 2019 for this. So 4 years later is when I watched it. I was like, I don't know. I mean, I think all the performances in this are great. So I'll preface it by saying that I think all of those performances in every movie are great because I think, like we mentioned with Kinds of Kindness, he's able to get so much out of his casts. But I was like, I don't know. I'd probably like rank Olivia Colman as like second or third performance in this movie. Like she was still great, but like, this is like the one that won the Oscar for her. So I'm happy she got an Oscar, but I thought like Rachel Weisz specifically was like the standout for me. And yeah, because I think Emma Stone also got nominated for supporting actress for this. And I think I made a comment about something like that too. I was like, I feel like Rachel Weisz is more who I would have kind of went for that too. So interesting one, but I wish we got more Nicholas Hoult because, like Cam said, I thought he was really great and is really funny, just a great character. Joel Alwyn obviously is in this as well. The first of two collaborations, I think, with Yorgos. I don't believe he's in any of these others, but it's so clear that you go from the previous cinematographer who I can not pronounce his name to now Robbie Ryan. Because I mean, the fisheye, especially, we see a ton of that in Poor Things as well. But this movie is just a whole different level in terms of aesthetic and feel and look through the lens of the camera. But beyond that, just also the production design is incredible. And I'd imagine this isn't crazy budget either, but this is where I feel like Yorgos in general like stepped up his game with production, like set pieces, and craziness, and building more of these epic productions in terms of what you end up seeing on your screen with this and what Poor Things ended up being. So I liked it. It's one I need to rewatch, but I remember watching it and just being a little underwhelmed. But I think I also went really highly into this because I was like, oh, I'd seen a Lobster, really liked it, and then I'd seen a Lobster and really liked it. This is like the Oscar one though. This is like the one that got the accolades. So like I probably will love this. And yeah, you get the themes Cam talked about is lust, power, using lust for power, control, manipulation, political pawns, but yeah, I really liked it, and that's kind of my summary of the movie. I really liked it, and that's about it.
George,
I'm kind of on the opposite end. I mean, you guys know this. I'm not the biggest period piece fan, and I was also coming off of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which obviously two very different movies, tough to compare, but that is a period piece. So I had pretty much just seen the best period piece ever. And now I have to watch another period piece, and I don't like period pieces to begin with. So that's a me problem. That's not a movie problem. But either way, I didn't find myself necessarily like too attracted to this story. Emma Stone, I believe her character's name was Abigail. I was intrigued for like 20 minutes to a half hour. Truly, like she comes in, she's disrupting the hierarchy of power, and she's causing just a lot of problems. There's this fun like art of deception. There's a lot of like lust for power, which I thought was very intriguing. But then the movie just keeps going and it keeps going and it keeps overstaying its welcome, and I lose myself midway through. So it's not like a movie problem. There's nothing offensively bad here. I just think like, why would I watch The Favorite when I could watch Marie
Harry
Antoinette?
Lindgren.
Yeah, sure. Amadeus, Bram Stoker's Dracula. Like I don't like period pieces to begin with, and I feel like I've just I don't know. I've lost my way with these movies.
So, well,
You're gone forever.
I do like period pieces. This is like my kind of Yorgos film, I think, in general. I think that, like Tyler said, it's very evident here that the massive upgrade in just visual style. I think this has some of the most fucking just pleasing shots ever. But those wide sort of fisheye lens shots are great. Similar to what we see in Poor Things as well. I think it's just a fantastic blend of like power plays, dominance, sex, just really, really fantastic. That trio of Rachel Weisz. How do you say that? Is it Vice?
I think it's Vice.
Like
yeah,
Vice.
Vice.
German W,
Rachel
like
Weisz.
Vim Vendors.
It
Rachel
will
Weisz.
be Vice. Yeah. Rachel Weisz, Olivia Colman, and Emma Stone. I could watch them for hours. I think that those kind of playing
They're all
off
great.
each other, I think, is such a wonderful mix and like an all-timer trio. And the sets, the design, the costumes, it feels like it's been pulled straight from the 80th century, which I love. And I think this is very much like a me kind of Yorgos film in general. So I really, really like this. And yeah, I think it was great. What's next?
Poor Things.
Oh, Poor Things.
Yeah,
That was-
reply.
Oh, he didn't make any for a few years then. Poor Things, we kind of did it.
reviewed.
We reviewed it. So if you want to know our Poor Things, review, go and watch it. But
Yeah.
we all liked it.
Wasn't that
So-
many episodes ago? Probably like only
I'm
20
finding it.
Well, if you want to hear my thoughts, skip ahead like
66.
66.
66, and then probably
I'll be like
69. Is that, yeah.
Did we do an individual episode, Tyler, or was this when you were still clipping up the episode?
I can't remember. It's been a long time.
No,
since that, but
No, it's been a
I don't
while
think-
since I thought that.
yeah, I don't think
66 either way.
Yeah, it was 66 because it was the day we reviewed Wonka too.
Was it? Oh,
I was
shit.
just going through the Poor Things like backdrops to change in my letterbox, and that movie looks so damn good. Like it makes
Oh,
me
yeah.
want to rewatch it because holy shit, like this movie's visuals are so
I'm going through
incredible.
backdrops right now, just messing with them.
This
Now
movie's great. It looks
Now
so
I'm doing the
crazy.
exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
fun.
we're up to date now.
Well, we could review Kinds of Kindness if you guys want. Just like a double
Cam, give your
review.
thoughts.
Kinds of Kindness mid. I like part 2 better.
Fair.
I
understand.
there are 3
We'll
parts.
move into like the rankings. I think so. I've watched 7. How many have you guys seen? I think I've
3.
seen 7.
5.
3. Great effort, Cameron. Love it.
I watched
George?
your favorite. Prioritize the bear.
Are we including the short or no?
No, because we won't rank it.
3,
Oh, I've
4,
been.
5,
If we are, I
6.
got 4.
All right, then I got 6. If I include the Lobster, which I haven't seen in a while.
All right, let's go.
We'll just do all. I feel like we should just do all.
Want to do all of them then?
Yeah.
Cam, you go first, and then we'll go like.
Yeah, I'll
Cam,
just.
yours.
Mine is very simply. It's the favorite. Poor things. The Lobster. That's
3, 2, 1.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So starting at 3.
Wow, the Lobster's top. That's interesting.
So I think it's also like a 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5, 4 out of 5. So fantastic.
Wait, you had Poor Things at a 3.5?
Yeah, Poor Things. Maybe I need a rewatch. It was one of those.
I mean,
it's just
no,
not
I
a
get
movie
it.
for
I just,
me.
in my head, I thought
fully,
you really liked
yeah,
it.
I fully get the. I love looking at it. I think is what it is. I love looking at that movie.
Don't we all?
Bonk.
Like it's beautiful. No, not that necessarily, but like it is a beautiful walk. Just, it's just not a movie I love.
No, I know what you mean.
George?
I go 6. We'll throw dog shit. 5. I'll go the Lobster. 5. I'll go the Lobster. 4. I'll go the favorite. 3. I will go the Killing of a Sacred Deer. 2 Kinds of Kindness, and 1 Poor Things.
Cool. Tyler?
We all have very different rankings, but makes sense just because this, again, as I mentioned, this ranking means that just absolutely nothing. All 5 of these, if you scrambled them up, I'd be like, sure, that works. But number 5, I've seen 5. The favorite at 3.5. Kinds of Kindness at number 4 at 3.5. The Lobster at number 3 at 3.5. 2, The Killing of a Sacred Deer at a 4, and Poor Things at 1 out of 4. Yeah, could do anything with those. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fair. Same for me, actually. I tweeted the other day, I think he's like the king of 4 stars for me. Although Kinds of Kindness kind of put that down a little bit. So Kinetta at last at 1.5. Dog Peak, that's a 3.5. Kinds of Kindness, 3.5. Kill the Sacred Deer, 4. Although I probably should remove a rating on that. Lobster, 4. Poor Things, 4. The favorite, number 1 at a 4. Let us know in the comments your Yorgos ranking. I do want to watch the Alps though, because that was quite interesting actually. But moving on, as we have finished, we had a few trailers this week, a few good ones. The most notable of being Nosferatu, Robert Eggers' Nosferatu.
You think?
I think, or Red One. Which one?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was gonna say, in terms of IP, I think it's Red One.
Oh,
I think
fuck you.
I think
Actually, yeah, IP with Nosferatu. Actually. I don't know.
IP is Nosferatu in terms of box office, probably Red One.
Box office is Red One. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know, like most of us are high on it. I know George. Like, I know you're excited for it, but you're not probably as excited. Considering you're
very okay.
No, I said you're excited, but considering you're more excited for an M. Night film, that tells me you're not as excited. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm very excited for Trap, believe it or not, but I am still excited for Nosferatu. I just don't know if I'm like particularly sold on it as much as everyone else is.
Have you seen the original?
You know what Real Trap is, George?
I have not.
So I actually think there's a chance you might, because it's very period piece. Like just going into what you were saying.
God.
So obviously there's 2 versions of Nosferatu. There's the original and there's the Werner Herzog one. I think, George, you should watch the 1970s Nosferatu to get a taste of it and see what you think there. I'd be really intrigued.
I haven't seen that one, but I would also. I've seen the original, the early days one. I'd recommend.
You should watch the one.
Wait, when you say the original, you mean 1922?
The original is the FW
Murnau.
And then there's one.
What is the 70? I don't see a 70.
That's it's called Nosferatu the Vampire. Werner Herzog did it.
I see it.
You see it, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe try and watch that one and give you a feel of it, because that's kind of like it's
And then watch Renfield from 2023.
You guys remember the SpongeBob episode with the hash slinging slasher where Nosferatu?
How could you ever forget that one?
That's what I know Nosferatu from as I look at this.
I forgot Nosferatu made an appearance in that though.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
SpongeBob's got some elite lore though.
Yeah,
like, there are some episodes in that.
He's
like,
flipping the lights on and off. Very funny. Nosferatu is fucking good though.
It looks. I mean, this is like me. Robert Eggers is like my guy. I think. And this kind of film as well, this setting, this approach, the cast, just the story behind it in general, I find it really, really interesting. So I'm like, this is my most anticipated for the year easily, and it has been for since it got announced anyway. But yeah, shout out Harry Styles though. Sad to see him go.
Yeah, almost got the role of Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah.
And same with Anya Taylor-Joy obviously being
Lily Rose Depp. Who apparently, wait, what's Lily Rose Depp been in?
That one show at the weekend is the only thing I know her from.
Oh, The Idol.
Yeah, I haven't seen that,
I'm
but I
not
know she was
thinking
in that.
when
I don't
said a
think
lot of things,
anyone
I was
should
not
swim that.
thinking.
No, people watch that.
She was
People
in
watch that.
Tusk. It all comes full
Oh,
circle. It all comes full circle.
Nosferatu universe. But
I really haven't seen him much.
Robert Eggers is such an interesting filmmaker because, like, in terms of reactions on film Twitter, because you have like the layman who sees 3 movies a year, you know, the average individual who goes out and sees the big blockbusters probably generally isn't going to like The Lighthouse or The Witch. They might like The Northman a little more. That's a little more, but I think a lot of people
The Northman's more commercialized.
But also, I know
cool.
I also know a lot of people who saw The Northman who are the type that see 2 movies a year that were like, oh, I was expecting more action. So like in general, he's not for the everyman. But then like once you get more into like the film Twitter sphere, it becomes like pro Robert Eggers, obviously. But then you get like super far into it, and then you have people who are like Robert Eggers is so overrated and trash. And like
my Twitter notifications this week were horrible.
Yeah, you were getting bullied for that take.
So it's like don't like Robert Eggers. Yeah, it's like there's like
good.
your take was fine. I don't know why people reacted so much.
Because film Twitter are the most reactionary people in the world.
Well,
it's just such a weird spectrum. It's like you don't.
I just said, George. I said that
the debut run of your
first 3 films, like his debut 3, his first 3, that 3 run is like one of the best debut 3s ever, and I firmly believe that. If you look at most great directors,
that's a crazy take.
3, I didn't, and by the way, I didn't say the best. I just said it's one of the best, you know, because it is. That's like The Witch, The Lighthouse, The Northman is a crazy run for your first 3 films.
And he got so many quote tweets of people being like, "Grow up" or something like that.
Like even Damien Chazelle, who has a great start, but then people forget about the Park Bench movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, like that's the thing. Like for your true first,
they usually have these like Nolan, for example. It's the same. They usually have these like early.
Greta Gerwig has that Nights and Weekends movie that I think is awful.
Kubrick has like 3 films that are just dog shit. You know what I mean? At most, it happens a lot. So it's like, yeah. But anyway, that was my take, and I'm very, very, very excited for this. Anything else, or we kind of roll?
Red one.
You know, I don't get this year. I don't get it this year, which I'm
Red one. No, sorry.
Who the fuck is this shit about Red?
You switched topics.
No, I don't get Nosferatu this year. I get it like a week after you guys. Just kind of like,
that's so lame. It's such an interesting time to release it because obviously, like clearly Eggers is clearly pushing for Oscars with this, or like him or the production company, because this is like a shoe-in Halloween release. But you know, obviously, late December they're going for the Oscar. Get it right get a buzzer beater in there, but. You know, fun way to spend, you know, the Christmas holiday. This movie's not going to make much money, but no one was expecting it to. But hopefully it does well with the awards, because this is obviously like a type of movie that could, but also, you know, it's still horror. So not generally getting the most respect. But I think it's one that could break some barriers a bit, which we've been waiting for someone to break barriers with getting more Oscar nominations. Because I mean, like production design and stuff, I feel like it could be like a shoe-in for this.
The people who you think will be going to see Nosferatu will be going to see Beetlejuice 2. That's what we're talking. Like it's that
Beetlejuice, yeah.
Beetlejuice, yeah. Another trailer we got this week, which is like again been heavy on Twitter discourse, is the new Robert Zemeckis film with Tom Hanks and
the
Robert Zemeckis is on an all-timer shit streak. This century,
the funniest.
That man made so many great. Actually,
the amount of tweets I've seen, and I think Owen also made a TikTok video of this about like Zemeckis post 2000s. Like
it is bad though.
Yeah, it needs to be studied. Like that's an insane drop off. I forgot he did the Pinocchio movie from like 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, he did.
So,
that's bad.
I forgot that.
Man, bad.
Oh,
the only one this century I think is like actually no, not this. Castro was 2000. Flight. No, it's 2000, so it's not like technically. Yeah, Flight's the one with Denzel. I was like, okay.
Oh yeah, I have seen Flight. I think. Yeah.
He has done some like that Christmas Carol, the Pinocchio one, Beowulf, Polar Express.
I remember really liking Christmas Carol.
Chill.
I was like 8, so I don't know, but
that Christmas Carol, really?
This is
no. You weren't alive then, Tyler. Yeah, you were. No, you weren't. No, you weren't.
When I was like 8, I said.
When were you born?
97.
I think
you were 12. You were 12.
When I was younger enough. Yeah. Same.
Yeah. I thought that was earlier. Later.
Zemeckis was such a crowd pleaser in the late 90s, and then he's just taken a crap lately. And this movie looks awful.
This is such a shtick movie. It's such a movie that's going to be not good, but it's going to have the shtick of having the camera just in one spot. Like that's all this movie is.
Just on this, I will say, I kind of, in a way, one thing I will say about Robert Zemeckis, he's always trying to push technological boundaries. Like they look shit.
No, you're
No,
100%
it's
right.
true.
Yeah, no,
Polar
you're
Express,
You're right.
Polar Express, A Christmas Carol. There's
He's like if George Lucas made Star Wars but look really shittily.
but it is true. Like he's trying to push these back. They look Polar Express looks really fucking hideous, right? But at least he's like trying to do something different. That's the thing, and I think that's what it is. And I think it will be shit. But I think at least he's like taking a bit of a swing.
It's something different. Like a movie set in one spot, but it's it's just slop for people.
This guy made Back to the Future, man.
This is just as much slop as Deadpool and Wolverine.
Stop.
Stop. Sorry,
it's Artur slop. He's like this.
He's not even an Artur.
No, but he's thinking in his head it's Artur. He's like this. Yeah. I'm nailing it right
now. He probably is.
Okay, what I want to know is
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? That's a good film. Sorry, just got out there.
How do you get a cinematography credit for this movie when it's a camera stabilized? This is the same cinematographer as Aquaman. James Wan's Aquaman.
Hell yeah!
And the Conjuring movies.
You have to like design the set and everything for cinematography and like.
That's
not cinematography.
That's not a set.
But like you have to make sure. Yeah, I guess not.
He measures the exact off the floor and like sets the camera up.
Robert Zemeckis sets the camera. That he'll be constructing the shots.
He's gonna be like, put the CGI dinosaur right here. Put the CGI Christmas tree.
This guy's done a couple of Zemeckis films, not all of them, but like the latest one, he did do the cinematography in Pinocchio. So maybe Zemeckis is like, man, Pinocchio, that was a dud. I'll give you a free DP credit on here.
I'll be honest,
even though it's nothing to do with camera.
It has been incepted into my mind that Robert Zemeckis did Ready Player One. I don't.
Can I just say? I know what you mean. That is a Zemeckis type film. I get that.
Right.
Can I just say?
And then on the flip side, like Back to the Future is like a Steven Spielberg type.
Yeah,
film.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. Just a quick one. The writer of this also was a writer on Dune and Killers of the Flower Moon. So that's kind of
maybe it's gas.
Yeah, maybe it's gotta be sick.
Like
not Eric Roth.
Movie ever.
Was it Eric Roth?
Yeah, it's Eric Roth.
Wait, I'm
what the fuck is this movie, dude?
diverting the convo back to Kinds of Kindness real quick because I'm reading through some Letterboxd reviews. One of them goes, 3 stories for the price of 1. How could that be profitable for Searchlight Pictures?
Every single.
That's all.
Which is so fucking funny. That is so funny.
So annoying.
That review deserves 1 million likes.
Any other thoughts on this?
Looks like shit.
Both.
Tom Hanks
I respect it.
has lost it, I think.
Tom Hanks gave one of the worst performances of all time in Elvis. It was bad.
You like The Man Called Otto, right? I know you like Uwe better, but you like The Man Called Otto?
Yeah, he was fine. I mean, he didn't really like it much because of him. It was more, but yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, I just think he's lost it. I think it's over for him.
According to him, he never had it because he always says he's been in like 2 good movies or whatever is what he always goes out around saying. That's 3, and then everyone has to like theorize which 3 he's talking about, and then everyone argues over that like once every year.
He was in Asteroid City. That's a good movie.
Oh, that's fair.
I might make a video on that. You might have just given me a content idea.
Pinocchio movie.
I don't know the actual quote is. You have to find it. I'm sure.
I might use it because I feel like Tom Hanks is quite good like view bait. He's one of those like commonplace names, isn't he? The next trailer we got is Red One, which looks
Jack Santa.
Diabolical in every single way, and
Jack Santa.
This isn't a Netflix film, is it? It's not.
It feels like
this is a
Netflix film.
Yeah.
Who is this movie for? Who is watching this movie?
The people that saw Silent Night and Violent Night.
I thought it was related to what was the one?
People that saw Red Notice. Red Notice.
That's the one. Yeah, Red Notice. That's what I was on about. When I saw it, I was like, "Is this related to Red Notice?"
This movie's gonna make $1 billion, I think. J.K. Simmons, Chris
billion?
Evans, Dwayne Johnson. No, not actually.
No, you all that.
It's gonna make
crazy. It might make 200 million. I don't think it's something like $1 billion.
I was shocked.
It might make $5.
It releases November 15th. They're trying to like nail the Thanksgiving watch with your family. This thing's gonna make bank. 250 million.
You need to retract your billion statement.
Oh yeah, no, billion was a stretch, but I do think I'll say 600 million.
Mateo, you could just right now go ahead and download the trailer for this movie to prep for like our like the clip for like worst movies of 2024.
Yeah,
for the awards montage before.
Yeah, you may well do that right now.
Just get ready with the Red One because that's happening.
Okay. Sorry. This is not that funny. Dwayne Johnson is an elf, which in this universe stands for it's a abbreviation for extremely large and formidable operations like employee. Fuck you. Fuck this movie.
This is going to be like the worst film of the year. Like
That's
is
terrible, man. That's so
my
ass.
God, elf. No.
I hate that we're gonna watch this movie.
Oh, did you guys watch the trailer for this, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
I watched like 20 seconds of it.
The fact that they're like, we're bringing in this guy. He's like a tracker or something. They're like bringing in Chris Evans. This is the most dumb fucking movie like plot ever. Oh my God. Stupid ass. Jack
yeah, fuck that film. Looks fucking shit. We'll move on to some yesterday we got some like massive news. So, and this is gonna be interesting. So originally we made predictions like after Dune 2 came out about when we thought Dune Messiah would be. Now it's not confirmed, but according to new reports, Denis is now assuming that commercially it was quite a success and they want to keep the momentum, that Dune Messiah will be Denis' next film. We said I think I said 2028. I think Cam actually said 2026. I'm pretty sure you did, and everyone was like taking the piss out of you or something. So go Cam in this instance.
Yeah, I don't remember this. Hell yeah.
No, I'm actually sure that we all said no, it's not released, and you were like, yeah. So yeah, fair enough.
I think
but
the studio.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, so that is Legendary have locked in a December 2026 release with the expectation that it is Dune Messiah, which is going to be December the 18th. Now that would collide with the next scheduled update for the new Star Wars film. Now, let's be honest, the chance of one of these getting delayed is 99%. But on the odd hand,
you know what's very fucking sad? The Star Wars movie is what's going to get delayed so that they don't have to compete, and that's embarrassing. Star Wars.
I don't know. I don't know. Like Star Wars.
If Denny said I'm making Dune this day, I guarantee the Star Wars movie.
They will change their date.
I think Star Wars will be delayed purely because of them not knowing what they want to do.
Cowards.
But if it does happen, I said this in my video yesterday. This will be the most annoying discourse you've ever seen in your life.
Get ready for Dune Wars.
Blu-ray Angel is going to be the worst person in the world on this day. These comparisons are going to go crazy.
Keep in mind the Batman Part 2 also is supposed to release within a month of that. I'm gonna be in the theaters 15 times for those two movies combined.
Hey, what's that
one name put together like Barbenheimer, like how everyone tries to do that for
Bat Dune, Dune Man,
like Dune Wars or something is not that fun.
That's too obvious. That's too
obvious.
Not
that fun. But hell yeah, Denny, make this movie.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, chances are that one of them will be delayed anyway, so probably not gonna happen. Cam, you may have seen the rundown. I said VCU.
I didn't make this. I'm guessing it's the VOT cinematic universe. Tyler, is that what who put that in?
Me.
Oh, you put it in.
I just said that.
Yeah, but you said I had no idea what the fuck this is.
No, I said I put it in for you because I have no idea what this is.
I'm assuming it's like the VOT cinematic universe. So The Boys just had an episode where VOT did its D23 panel. It was like V52 or something. Very funny, just funny jokes. Very on the nose, obviously.
But nothing's happening.
No.
Okay.
It's like
what's all this news about that?
Discussing film got a paid promotion to about it as if it was a real thing. No, it's but
so is this actually just a really obvious spoon-fed?
Yeah, it's a really on the nose, obvious, fake Disney or
I thought this was a real thing.
No,
I think it's because Discussing Film acted so much like it was.
Discussing Film had a
they got paid a bag.
Yeah, they probably got paid to tweet as if it was real. But they at one point make a joke that's this movie just finished shooting its reshoots of the reshoots, making it the most expensive movie ever, meaning
very meta,
meaning that it's super good, right? And that was a funny joke. And then literally that day, it just got revealed that Captain America: A Brave New World costs $350 million or something. Going to be absolute shit. Yeah, that's what that was, I'm guessing.
Okay, I thought it was not real. My bad. Bim, news for me. Hidetaka Miyazaki says it's interesting doing an Elden Ring film. That's really, really cool. That'll be just in context, obviously, I know you guys don't know what it is, but it's very, high fantasy, incredible lore, and it's so rich with it. And I think this could be something that would either be the worst film ever or the best film ever, and nothing in the middle.
I was gonna say, I'm surprised you'd be excited for it all. I feel like normally when people love a game or love a book, they're like, "Oh shit, I don't want."
I'm not excited, but I just think that
I feel like Miyazaki's a guy who could do it right.
no, Miyazaki's the game developer. It's not Miyazaki as in.
This is not.
Two
That's
different
Hayao Miyazaki.
Hidetaka Miyazaki is he's the game developer for Elden Ring, and then you've got Hayao Miyazaki, who is Ghibli.
And also Hayao Miyazaki makes only animated movies. I don't know what I was talking about, but I was trying to help you.
It's okay. It's fine. But yeah, this will be really interesting. Fantastic Four is a period piece set in the 1960s. I put based. This will be an MCU film for me. You know?
That's a shame that George is already going to hate it now.
George is already out.
That is not what I mean by period piece. Okay, I mean like
you don't know.
18th century boy. If Fantastic Four took place in 15th century Versailles, fuck that movie.
Big fake white hair.
Yeah, like fuck out of here, man.
Actually, interesting news though. Do you guys see this? A Donkey film is now in the works. Eddie Murphy set to return. It's got like so much traction online.
This is Eddie Murphy is bored because he's not good at what he does anymore.
He knows he'll make money. I agree. I love the first two Shrek films. I love Donkey, but I think this is very much like a let's do this again, And it's like
I think it's mostly just Puss in Boots: The Last Wish was such a success, box office wise, and also.
Eddie Murphy was publicly jealous about the recognition that Antonio Banderas was getting for Puss in Boots. Like he was publicly jealous about that. And also, Donkey isn't the sort of character, correct me if I'm wrong, that you can make a film.
It's like a Mater-full movie.
Yeah. He's like the perfect friend, Like
I want to see him with his wife. How'd they have kids? How'd they get the donkey dragon?
Like an R-rated Shrek.
Watch some National Geographic
Logan style movie. Remember that tweet, George?
Last thing, Fincher developing an English language Squid Game. Is this new news? I don't know if it was.
So it's been in development for like 2 years, and
I didn't know it was Fincher though.
No, but it was like this is one of those news that feels like there's like a few pieces of news in film Twitter sphere that like. I'm always like, wait, did we know this already? Like, there was a couple pieces. I think one was like a casting we just talked about the other week where I was like, I thought this was locked in for a while, but Fincher, like, I think there's like buzz that he was interested in doing it like 2 years ago, but now it's like locked in that he's been developing it for the past 2 years. It's whatever. Like, Fincher is on that Millie Bobby Brown contract right now where he's locked into Netflix and gonna just do whatever they want. But from what I was reading into it, like, this isn't really like a hired gun situation. Like, Fincher is very personally interested and invested in making this, and
why make it in the first place?
Yeah, no, it's interesting why. I mean, well, based on a lot of Fincher's films, you can see why he is drawn to a narrative like this, wanting to.
I just mean, but specifically a remake.
I have no doubt he'll do a good job. We don't need it.
I mean, I'm sure this is like a 5-minute boardroom meeting where Netflix knows anything Squid Game is going to make $1 billion or not billion, but like everyone's going to watch it, and Fincher's like, well, I'm already interested in making one, so like, cool, there you go, here's money, go make it. So whatever. I'd rather see Squid Game season 2.
Kind of on the Squid Games run. Shout out Lee Jung-jae. Great Jedi vibes in The Acolyte.
I've heard he's really good.
Oh, I forgot he was in that.
He great Jedi vibes. Very good. That's the best part.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Yeah. Other than that, the rest of the week we'll have a post-apocalyptic film draft coming on Thursday, and then our Friday Patreon review exclusive on Patreon. If you haven't already, check us out. All involved in Discord all the time. Bronze-driven chance going off. We're very kind of at the peak era right now of Discord because everyone's just having a chat, nice times, a lot of discussions. So get involved. Check us out in the what do you call it below? The
description. Yeah, our Discord's so funny because if you only talk movies in our Discord, you probably think I'm not in the Discord ever, and if you only talk sports in Discord, you probably think I'm in there all the time. So
yeah, if any of you listening who don't have any friends who like MMA, I'm here. We have like a
Seth's always in there on the MMA channel.
Just to get us out there, I'm going to the UFC event with a guy in our Discord. That's like how far it's gone. So if you want to get involved, then you heard it here first.
Become a patron, and Seth will bring you to an event.
And I've also been to like screenings. I went to Civil War with a few of them. I'm there. I'm that guy, you know.
Mhm.
So
Hell yeah.
if you want that, join up. But yeah, check us out on TikTok, YouTube, all that good stuff. Patreon view will be mid-90s, so we'll be discussing that on Patreon, exclusive to Patreon. And and shout out our executive producers as well, Stefan Johnson, Stefan Niebrick, and Sean Morales. We appreciate you guys. Other than that, we will speak to you all soon.
Peace.